Hello fellow Taoists, and welcome back to my channel. Today S will review an incredibly good and hilariously out there story for you guys. Hua Men is as shameless as some capitalist scumbag. Although the awakened young man is only the weakest character in the game, he can freely customize 6 different skills for himself, while other players can only use one for their entire lives. The story begins with a creepy scene. A bleeding hand is trying to cling to a rock on the road. It turns out to be a man struggling to stand up facing a red-haired demon with 2 horns on its head. In this world, the gods are dead. Humans worship money and adore mysterious things. In the end, they turn themselves into lowly slaves. Kim Junsu pointed his sword forward, his whole body trembling. He gritted his teeth and said, "Where is the justice?" The demon also drew its sword. The blade emitted a red aura. Its eyes were ghastly white and glowing. He leaped up to confront it. You can see his body is too small compared to it. He shouted, "How can it be so unreasonable?" Kim Junsu laughed maniacally. Then the collision caused a huge explosion. The best modern apocalyptic fantasy game. His whole body went limp, floating in the air. Mysterious soul game. Turns out he was playing a game and his character got KO'd knocked out. He said angrily, "This money-grabbing trash game, this is Kim Junsu, 22 years old, a university student." On the screen, his character was shown beaten to a pulp. He screamed, "Where the hell is the justice? How is a poor bastard like me supposed to play F2P free-to-play?" Inside the game, the player controlling the demon in the game was looking down from above at him trembling. Not bad for an F2P grinder. He laughed heartily. But too bad I'm on autoplay all the time. This person's ID is Rick. Hearing this, he cursed. Damn it. Rick frantically attacked his character and another person. Their IDs were Pua and Bert. These 2 characters were like fish on a chopping block at the mercy of others. Back to reality. Kim Junsu was on the street playing the game. He trembled with anger as if he wanted to crush his phone. He gritted his teeth. Damn it! Then he suddenly shouted, "Where's the justice when I've spent 10,000 hours playing and still lose to these idiots? What kind of game is this? Obviously there's no chance against other overwhelmingly strong characters." But then he went limp again, sighing, "I'm such an idiot for wasting time on this damn game. Just do the daily quests so I can go to work and school," because he was a useless person who always did daily quests. Kim Junsu clicked on free, muttering, "Even so my free rolls only ever give me Kim Warrior." Suddenly he noticed something and froze for 5 seconds. Inside the phone screen was a silver chest. It was opening a gift. He was surprised. What a platinum chest. He stared intently, sweat dripping from his forehead. Suddenly his eyes widened in amazement. He got an SSR Demon Lord. He shouted, "What the hell? Is it really a Demon Lord?" He looked at the screen in disbelief. Holy crap, this is insane. It's really this Demon Lord, the strongest character in the game. I heard the F2P drop rate is only 0.006%. He jumped for joy. "Oh yeah, I got a Demon Lord. This is awesome." He swiped to the character panel. Now how to upgrade the Demon Lord, I can level up by killing monsters. The fastest way to level up in this mysterious soul game is... Then he grinned sinisterly and continued, "Use the old character for experience. No need to be jealous of those pay-to-win guys anymore." He immediately used Kim Warrior to upgrade the Demon Lord. A stream of light, all the Kim Warrior characters were absorbed by the Demon Lord. The EXP bar was almost full. SSR Demon Lord Level 1. He held up his phone, smiled, and said, "Goodbye, Kim Warrior. Now I have a Demon Lord." He was crossing the street when suddenly a car sped towards him. The truck driver was dozing off at the wheel and had no idea he was about to cause an accident. His face contorted, eyes wide. The phone in his hand fell. He thought to himself, "Is this a familiar event?" Suddenly his eyes flew open. He was lying in a hospital bed, his head bandaged. His right leg was also in a cast. He was stunned and bewildered to find himself there. Kim Junsu suddenly sat up looking at the IV drip in his left hand. He wondered, what happened? Why am I in the hospital? He was trying to remember when his head throbbed with pain. He quickly clutched his head. He remembered now. He remembered the scene of the truck speeding towards him. The truck's headlights shone straight in his face. He was terrified, his whole body trembling. Then an accident happened. His heart skipped a beat as he recalled thinking, that's right, I was hit by a truck. Just then, a nurse opened the door and walked in. Warrior Kim. You're awake. This sentence startled him. Warrior Kim? What's that? Seeing signs of amnesia, the nurse said, wait a moment, I'll go call the doctor. He was secretly worried. What's going on? Why did she call me Warrior Kim? On the information sheet it said, Warrior Kim, male 22 years old, dislocation and head trauma due to accident. He looked and his smiling face contorted. It really is this Warrior Kim. What kind of mistake is this? Then he sighed. It must be because I feel guilty for neglecting Warrior Kim to grind for the Demon Lord. But becoming Warrior Kim, how is that possible? He forgot his leg was broken and tried to stand up. As a result, his whole body ached terribly. His scream echoed throughout the hospital. The nurse rushed over. Warrior Kim, you can't walk yet. As for him, he held up his broken leg, his face scrunched up like a monkey eating chili. Damn, it hurts like hell. I'm probably gonna die. The doctor spoke up at this moment. Getting hit by a truck, you got off lightly. Hearing that, he quickly shouted, what? The doctor continued, but we still need to check a few more things. The doctor said, you need an MRI and a checkup via magic. He asked in surprise, what magic? These words confused him. He thought, Warrior Kim and magic. What are they talking about? Cut to the hospital reception. The nurse was calculating his hospital bill. Room and emergency fees, CT scan, X-ray, and other expenses are $22,370,569.1. Hearing the hospital bill made him freeze. He forced a smile. What 4 days here cost $22,000,001? The receptionist replied, you don't have insurance, so you'll have to pay yourself. He immediately got angry. Why wouldn't I have insurance? Every Korean has national health insurance. The nurse didn't understand. What's national health insurance? You don't have military insurance or any magic tower insurance, right? He shouted, military and magic towers? What are you talking about? He was speaking when he suddenly stopped. Wait, these words are very familiar. Where have I heard them before? He muttered, military, super corporation, magic tower, holy order. The 4 factions that rule Seoul. He suddenly realized this was the setting of the mysterious Soul game. In a world where gods had abandoned humanity, occult science had developed at lightning speed. The earth was overrun with monsters, and humans had to modify their bodies to survive. He was so angry he could explode. Damn it! At this time, he had been discharged from the hospital and went to a neighborhood. Simply put, in a world where mere survival was already difficult. He scratched his head and tore at his hair, shouting, and I have to live here. He walked heavily with crutches. I was too immersed in the joy of getting the Demon Lord, but I ended up as a tutorial character. Perhaps this is punishment for abandoning Warrior Kim. He opened his room door and exclaimed, this room is even smaller than my old place. Why is Warrior Kim so dirt poor? He sat on the bed, scratching his head, and said, damn it, my body still hurts and I have no money. What should I do? He suddenly became serious, thinking, and if this really is mysterious Soul, then soon events like nuclear war and dimensional rifts, or the revival of old gods will happen and turn this place into a living hell. He flopped onto the bed, thinking sadly, I don't know what my end will be. But if I just stay like this, I'm definitely doomed. Suddenly, he remembered something. Wait, that means... He picked up a pen and clicked the tip. Then he coldly raised the pen. He thought, I have to check before it's too late. But he didn't have the courage to do it. But then he resolved to stab the pen into his right hand. He screamed in pain, pulled out the pen. Blood flowed from his hand. But then a blue light was healing the wound. The wound on his hand quickly closed, and then his hand returned to normal. He was happy inside, I knew it. The system panel appeared, attribute acquired. You have just received the wound recovery attribute. He thought, this is why I upgraded so many Kim warriors. Warrior Kim is a free tutorial character, the only character with no basic attributes. However, those attributes can be unlocked and changed, so Warrior Kim can be upgraded more freely than other characters. For a strategy player like me, Warrior Kim is easier to play than other high-rarity characters. He took off the bandage on his head. This means I am Warrior Kim now. His whole body was now healed. The system panel displayed wound recovery activated wounds have been healed. He happily thought, I can add as many attributes as I want. Mysterious soul. In this world, if you're poor and weak, you won't survive. Mutants, if poor and weak, will wander everywhere. At this moment, he resolved thinking, or if I'm unlucky, it'll be the same, but I won't let that happen. He started frantically slashing monsters. From rank 115, 689, he was now rank 9. He had the experience of an F2P player who had spent over 10,000 hours playing. Then he coldly walked out of the Talent Institute. Then he gave a sinister smile. And Warrior Kim's body, too. In the registration room, a man was holding a paper and looking at it. Warrior Kim. Huh? You said this is your first time here, right? Kim Junsu replied, That's right. I plan to join the mana purification industry. He calculated in his mind, first I need to make money in this trash game. And I only have this damn body, so the only way to make a lot of money is… On the other side, the man heard this, put his feet on the table and said, You could call it mana purification. He looked at him for a while, then continued, But do you understand what work in the dungeons entails in detail? This is HR Director Choi Seong-gu. He awkwardly scratched his head and said, I do. The man immediately said, You know, haha, but there's nothing in your file. He thought to himself, Of course I know. Those trashy jobs. Dark mana, a plume of black smoke gathered inside a large building complex. A large padlock hung on a chain locking a large door. The reason monsters rampage in this soul. Cleaning dungeons means cleaning up things that emit large amounts of dark mana. One person, while cleaning, suddenly clutched his head. His body emitted black smoke. Because prolonged exposure to it can be fatal. This heavily infected man's whole body was bulging with veins. He begged, Help me. But then he suddenly transformed, his whole body covered in light. He had 2 horns on his head. He thought, or it causes mutations. That makes this job extremely dangerous. Choi Seong-gu said, All right. When we have enough people, I'll call you to the team. He replied, Thank you, sir. Then he stared at him and said, But are you sure? He continued, I've seen loads of people like you come in here for money and leave with an empty shell of a body. He smiled and said, Don't worry. Before leaving, he replied, I'm better than you think. This made the man freeze. What? He gave a brilliant smile. Grinding F2P is my specialty. Because he is the mysterious soul's Kim warrior, playing time 10,000 hours. Cut to the workplace. Captain Hero coldly crossed his arms and said, What's this? A new guy in the team. He scratched his head and said, Oh yes. I guess so. I was assigned to this team, so I came here. He immediately grabbed his collar, gritted his teeth and said, Is this a joke? Where's your determined gaze? Then his eyes widened, his face cold. He said, When you mutate, don't beg me. If I see any signs of mutation in you, I'll deal with you. He replied, Okay, I remember. Seeing this scene, he thought to himself, Old ghosts bullying new ghosts, huh? I guess it's the same in the game as in real life. He looked at the character panel wondering, but why is a level L character here? Is this his pre-awakening form? His legs are still like that. Suddenly a blonde man rushed in hastily. Oh my God, Hero. You don't need to do that to the new guy. This person is a dungeon cleaner with 5 years of experience named Neem Hedgehog. He advised, Anyway, we're short-handed, the more the merrier. Hearing that, Hero let go of his shirt. Only if he's useful, look at him. It's lucky if he doesn't get in the way. Then he immediately told everyone the work tasks. All right, we have 4 days to clean up 5 contaminated areas, so hurry up. On this side, he gritted his teeth angrily, saying, Bastard. In the game, he's even more of an asshole. Neem patted his shoulder, smiled, and said, Don't mind him. He's cold on the outside, but warm on the inside. He's a good person. He replied, Okay. Then their group stood in front of a building. A foul smell emanated from inside. Liquid was seeping out from the main door. They covered their noses. Something was decomposing. The black-haired man said, I can never get used to this smell. Captain Hero shouted, I'm opening the door. Everyone get ready. Then he used a card to open the door. Inside, what hit their eyes was a pile of garbage and waste. Hero shouted, Everyone to your positions. Green slime was floating above the garbage pile. They started to form 2 eyes and a mouth. Then they swarmed and attacked everyone. This is a low-level contaminated slime monster. Everyone was grimacing, ready to fight. He was at the back silently observing the situation. The basic thing to be able to clean up dark mana and contaminated slime monsters. On the other side, people use shovels to slash at it, causing it to split in 2. He thought further. Although its combat power is weak, the reason it's hard to deal with them is because after splitting it into 2 or 3 parts, those parts continue to multiply into other slime monsters, meaning you hit one and it becomes 3 or 4. He looked at them, laughing cunningly. He saw the weakness of the slime monsters. They won't die until you find the mana core in their bodies. He shouted, Find their mana cores. Everyone was being attacked by them, saying fearfully, Damn it, how do we find them? If this continues, we'll be exposed to dark mana. Watching them merge into a pile of slime engulfing everyone, he quickly ran over, shouting, Fall back. Then he jumped up coldly, holding the shovel ready to strike down. The person below saw this and was aghast with a gape. His face was grim as he said, I'm not taking responsibility for this. Then he used the shovel to stab hard into that pile of slime. The shovel blade had hit their mana core, but this mana core was in an awkward place. It was between the short, black-haired man's legs, causing him to faint. He smiled. Perfect. Then he coldly looked at the man's trembling body, said, Time for a little warm-up, huh? With that, he rushed forward. He took the shovel and started sweeping through the piles of slime. The slimes revealed golden void stones, which were their mana cores. He immediately slashed at those golden void stones. On this side, Captain Hero's group was surprised. The blue-haired man exclaimed, What the hell? He took care of that monster with just 1 hit. How is that possible? On this side, he was holding a shovel attacking another giant slime monster. He said excitedly, Of course I can. Why not? Back to 2 days ago. He was crawling on the ground in an amusement park. Perhaps he was looking for something. Where is it? A mother and child behind him were surprised to see him crawling on the ground. The son called out, Mom, that guy is so weird. The mother said, Don't look at him. But he continued searching. It must be around here. Suddenly he found something. He picked it up. It was a 501 coin. Found it. The system panel appeared. You have received the treasure hunter attribute. He smiled happily. Great, got it. The most important attribute for Warrior Kim Treasure Hunter. He jumped for joy. 501. 501. Finally, found it. Over here, the mother covered her son's eyes. Oh my God, cover your eyes and hurry up before something happens. He did these things because before monster hunting, he had learned some important principles when gathering necessary attributes. Cut to another place. He was opening the lid of a trash can. It stank so much he had to cover his mouth. He just stuck his head in the trash can. Finally, the system panel appeared. You have received the contamination resistance attribute. Hearing that, he immediately pulled his head out. This one is the hardest. First, collecting attributes is still the same as in the game. You just need to meet certain conditions. Then he opened the system panel. Looking at the displayed attributes, he said happily, The attributes I had to sweat and toil to get. Second, there can be a total of 6 attributes. They can be changed at will. and the system shows you can find the opponent's weaknesses. Back to reality, he thought happily. Thanks to this attribute, I can see the mana core. He quickly pierced the mana core of the giant slime monster. Then the monster was destroyed. Black slime splattered after the monster exploded. Hero shouted, "Everyone be careful not to get hit, ass." Black slime splattered everywhere. His legs were also covered in slime. Because he was the one who destroyed it and stood near the monster, his whole body was covered in slime. But he was fine. He said coldly, "It seems my efforts have paid off." Then he laughed with delight. Warrior Kim's attributes are truly amazing. The system panel read, "You have antibodies against dark mana." Cut to the street on a bus. He was sitting and sighing. Even with so many attributes, working all day is still exhausting. Neem happily walked over and said, "We gotta go home early today thanks to you." Then Neem sat next to him and said, "Just looking at you is amazing. Are you still waiting to awaken like Hero?" He replied, "No, I just work based on my military experience." Neem replied happily, "If so, you're really great." He secretly observed Neem. 2 horns had grown on his forehead. He thought, this guy's mutation symptoms are getting worse and worse. It seems he's been exposed to too much dark mana. He said comfortingly, "Hey, you don't look so good. Why don't you take tomorrow off?" He replied, No, I'd rather mutate than have no money to pay off debts." He thought, that makes sense. It's not easy, that's why one has to choose this job. Cut to another place 4 days later. A shovel was stuck in the ground. Their team continued their work. Towards late afternoon, he sighed and looked around. It's done. Seeing everyone behind him in low spirits, he thought, everyone is tired after working for several days. Suddenly, someone vomited a pile of waste. It was Neem. He was vomiting. Sharp quills had grown on his head. Seeing this, he thought, that guy already said not to push it too hard. Huro next to him said, "Getting ready to go home, huh? Is it because you're still young?" He smiled and said, "I didn't think you'd be so capable. Good job." He smiled back and replied, "It's nothing. It's also thanks to everyone." He thought to himself, thanks to those attributes, this job has become much easier. Looking at Huro smoking beside him, Kim Junsu exclaimed, "He doesn't seem affected at all. Is it because he's level L?" While Huro was sighing, so damn tired. Suddenly, a scream made him turn his attention back. It was Neem, his body transforming. His whole body emitted black smoke. The gray-haired man said worriedly, "Hey, Neem, your spine." The gray-haired man next to him hurriedly asked, "Are you okay?" Over here he was surprised. "What's going on?" Captain Huro had quickly run to check the situation. He had a bad feeling. His face was panicked as he thought, "Don't tell me." Over here, Huro was holding Naheem, saying, "Naheem, snap out of it, let's get out of here." He had completely transformed by now. His eyes were bloodshot red, his mouth full of sharp teeth. It was no longer a human face. A loud explosion rang out. He covered his face. Damn it! A brown-skinned foot with sharp spines appeared on his leg. He had transformed by now. It was baring its fangs full of sharp teeth. Saliva dripped down. This was the mutated Neem. Seeing Huro knocked face down on the ground by it, he could only hold his shovel defensively, thinking, looks like he's lost his mind. If I can't defeat him, I can't get out of here. He opened the system panel. Looking at the attributes on the panel, he gritted his teeth in anger. Because all my attributes are for killing monsters. They're useless in combat. He looked at it so ferocious and large. This thing, no matter how I think about it. Looking at the fierce face and mouth full of sharp teeth, he thought, well, this is a disaster. The mutated Naheem was extremely ferocious, baring its pearly white teeth, and casting a terrifying gaze towards the person in front of it. Junsu gripped the shovel in his hand, tightly clenching his teeth and muttering to himself, no matter how this thing looks, I'm done for. Before he could finish his thought, the mutated Naheem landed a powerful, forceful punch that sent him flying backward. Junsu was thrown back, hitting the ground so hard it cracked. He was dazed, his mouth bleeding as he lamented, "The power difference is too great. At this rate, I'll die." As he lay motionless under the dust and dirt, the system announced "Received Endurance," a new attribute after taking the full force of that mutant's punch. Seeing this notification, Junsu felt a surge of adrenaline and tried to get up. Attributes. That's right. I have many attributes. It's still too early to give up. He quickly scrolled through the attribute panel to consider how to fight the mutated Neem. To survive, I need to figure out how to defeat that thing. First, I need to remove some attributes. After some thought, he felt the strength attribute seemed useful. Mana control would help manage mana, and endurance would reduce damage. Magic absorption would allow mana absorption, and healing would regenerate mana faster. The final piece for these attributes would be resistance. After finalizing the suitable attributes, Junsu gritted his teeth, tightened his grip on the shovel, and prepared to fight. All right, basically done. Come at me, you bastard, MBO. The mutated Neem didn't hesitate and charged towards him thunderously. It roared as it ran. Meanwhile, Junsu had silently channeled power into the shovel blade, waiting for the right moment to strike. As soon as the system announced the activation of the 10x strength amplification attribute, he also swung the shovel high. Immediately after, Junsu used the shovel to send the frantically charging mutated Neem flying. He looked excitedly at the scene before him. Great, it works, I can do this. The mutated Neem was knocked backward motionless, as if it had lost consciousness. Immediately after, it curled into a ball of sharp spines and bounced back towards Junsu. Seeing this, he was so shocked he froze his mouth agape. Watching the ball of spines rolling towards him at a terrifying speed made him flustered, not knowing what to do. What the hell is this? The ball of spines rolled onto a rock jutting out of the ground and bounced into the air. It spun and flew towards the still dazed Junsu's head. His mouth fell open, his face pale with fear. Holy sh! The mutated Neem's ball of spines slammed hard onto the ground, creating a violent aftershock. The ground also cracked and caved into a deep pit. After that attack, it stretched and then bent over, digging its hands into the ground to reduce the aftershock from spinning dozens of times in the air. Suddenly, something successfully caught the mutated Neem's attention. It turned out Junsu had taken a run-up and jumped from the ground. It seemed he was unaffected by the previous attack. It turned out he had activated the 10x amplified endurance attribute for defense. Junsu swung his fist, charging forward, gritting his teeth and saying, "Even with endurance, it still hurts like hell." Although he said that he was still silently encouraging himself. But if I stop now, I'm definitely dead. Immediately after, Junsu unleashed a flurry of punches at the mutated Neem, which couldn't react in time and could only passively take the hits, thinking, besides constantly attacking, he has no other way. Suddenly, one of the mutated Neem's spines glinted with a cold, sharp light and moved strangely. Immediately after, Junsu's shirt was torn by the sharp spine of that mutated creature. Immediately following was a relentless attack of sharp spines from the mutated Neem. Junsu was impaled by spines, falling back in pain. He gritted his teeth, trying to stay conscious through the pain. Not just a little bit more. He used all his strength to get up and continue charging at the enormous raging monster. Ignoring the hedgehog quills piercing his body, causing pain, Junsu clenched his fists and shouted, charging forward. The sound of something being torn apart echoed. At the same time, pieces of cloth mixed with flesh and blood fell to the ground, causing panic. It turned out Junsu's hand had been torn apart by sharp spines. The mutated Neem's eyes were ghastly white. Its sharp spines bristled, ready to launch. Immediately after, Junsu's left arm was also pierced by those sharp spines, torn to shreds, flesh and blood. The pain made him fall backward to the ground, screaming in agony. The mutated Neem, however, clasped its hands, preparing for the finishing blow. Junsu gritted his teeth, tears of anger and fear welling in his eyes. He wasn't resigned because everything had been predicted. The final scene was the mutated Nhim's massive, powerful fist crashing down. He lay there curled up, thinking despairingly, Warrior Kim can't possibly defeat this monster. It struck a powerful blow, causing the ground to tremble violently. Dust and sand flew to both sides. The scene shifts to the game character on the phone facing a terrifying monster. Junsu's thoughts return to when he was leisurely lying in bed enjoying the game. If you're good, then come at me. I can kill you with just Warrior Kim. He remembered when he played the game before everything was extremely smooth. All he did was click to kill the monsters. So Junsu never bothered with superfluous things like the character's emotions. He realized he simply pushed the character to its absolute limits for effective training. Drops of blood splattered on the ground along with the young man's belated regret. The mutated Neem squeezed the small human in its hand until flesh and blood mixed. A stream of thoughts raced through Junsu's mind. But only now do I understand what I have to endure to get a small attribute. The mutated Neem opened its mouth and spewed out an incredibly strong gust of wind. Immediately after it was knocked out by someone punching it backward, a muscular figure was panting heavily. Junsu returned with an unusually muscular appearance. He had activated the mutated muscle attribute after being beaten bruised. At the same time, Junsu also realized the truth. How can you win without paying a price? The mutated Nhim was knocked backward. Its back full of sharp spines slammed hard onto the ground. Junsu thought back to when his hand was pierced earlier, the reason I risked my life to attack. The muscular young man clenched his fists, looking straight ahead with fiery eyes. It was to receive an attribute when surpassing the limit while activating mana core and strength to be able to receive mutated muscles. The mutated Neem, despite the pain, stubbornly got up and charged. He calmly observed the situation with a steady mind, all just to wait for this moment. This time the mutated Nhim used its old trick, opening its mouth to spew a gust of wind, but Junsu confidently used his bare hands to block this attack. Then he unleashed another flurry of powerful punches at it, accompanied by an overflowing sense of triumph. Useless. Hit me. Hit me. How dare you? The mutated Neem manifested sharp spines around its fist. Immediately after it slammed that spiky fist straight into Junsu's chest. His body was riddled with holes, his mouth bleeding, but he still found it hard to believe. It still hasn't used its full strength. The blood from Junsu's wound suddenly moved in a very strange way. It wriggled like a sentient liquid. Witnessing this, the mutated Neem also felt extremely confused. The system quickly announced, "Mutated body acquired." Junsu, with blazing red eyes, propped himself up. He smiled wryly, speaking sarcastically, "Thanks, I'm stronger because of you." The mutated Neem's footsteps were so fast they made the ground shake. The two rushed into a new confrontation, wanting to see who could last until the end. Junsu said cheerfully, "Now, we're evenly matched." Captain Huro, who was unconscious, was also awakened by the aftershocks of the battle. He was dazed. What's happening? It's so noisy. Before his eyes was the brutal fight of two madmen, as if they were performing a martial arts movie. Captain Huro's jaw dropped in amazement at what was before him. Warrior Kim, seeing the life-or-death fighting style of the two before him, he was extremely confused. What is he, a superhuman or something? How can he be evenly matched with that mutated monster? The fight was intense when Junsu was forcefully pushed back by the mutated Neem. He lost his balance and fell backward. It wasn't much better off having used all its strength. It also stumbled and fell. Junsu propped himself up, annoyed, thinking, not easy at all. Even though I'm bigger than that thing now, if this continues, I'll be at a disadvantage. The mutated Neem stood up, spread its arms and roared. The shockwave sent surrounding rocks and soil flying into the air. Sweat dripped from Junsu's chin as he gritted his teeth, thinking, it's a bit dangerous, but I guess there's no other way. Looking at the spiky monster before him, he made up his mind. Activate contamination resistance attribute. To explain this attribute a bit, contamination resistance is resistance and dark mana. Junsu told himself he needed to believe in himself. Then he took a deep breath and whispered, "Delete." Captain Hero observing from outside, it's unclear what he saw, but he was terrified. A hand with terrifying blood vessels was rapidly bulging. The structure of the hand also completely changed. Junsu clutched his head in pain. Meanwhile, his body was undergoing terrifying changes. His eyes seemed to crack and then turned ghastly white. Blue veins bulged on his forehead, looking very scary. Junsu screamed in agony. His muscles bulged, tearing the shirt he was wearing. A bright circle appeared above his head, making his terrifying appearance seem hazy. Immediately after, Junsu opened his mouth and spewed a beam of light forward. The mutated Neem could only raise its hand to shield its face from the blinding light. The beam of light made everything around seem to darken. Dust and sand were blown everywhere. Captain Hero was terrified and recoiled backward. What the hell is that? Junsu, looking no different from a monster with blood-red eyes, glanced back, terrifying him. A monster. His jaw dropped as he came to a conclusion. He's mutated completely. Looking at Junsu using the mutated warrior Kim attribute, Captain Hero found it hard to believe. How is that possible? Captain Hero's face turned pale, his mouth agape as he cursed, "Damn it!" Seeing the monstrous form when using the mutated warrior Kim, he screamed internally, "What the hell is this?" Captain Hero quickly tried to flee when he noticed Junsu's attention on him. "I need to get out of here right now." Before he could leave, a large black shadow loomed behind him, making Captain Hero turn back, his face pale. That giant hand reached out to grab him, leaving him no time to react. Captain Hero squeezed his eyes shut, resigned to fate. While his eyes were closed, growls and rustling sounds still echoed in his ears. After a long time without feeling any pain, he slowly opened his eyes. It turned out Junsu had returned to normal and was panting as he walked over. Captain Hero was surprised. He turned back into a human. Just as he was wondering, Junsu collapsed to the ground with a dull thud. Junsu was out of breath, so tired he couldn't lift a finger, whispering faintly, "Success." He quickly remembered that the resistance attribute was the final line of defense. If one possessed both the mutated body and mutated muscles, it would lead to a reaction. That is, the resistance attribute with that absolute defense layer would be nullified. Junsu recalled when he used the mutation earlier. People usually think that once mutated, one cannot return. But he had done the opposite, transforming from a mutated form back to a normal human. But I know another way. I need to change the attributes. Junsu's red eyes focused his spirit. Just a little more thought and I can change the attributes. The hand continued to bulge with flesh and began to show signs of melting. He clutched his head, trying to focus his spirit for this transformation. His flesh sagged as if it wanted to turn into liquid. Junsu extended his sticky hand forward. He had truly turned back into a normal human. After a successful experiment, he concluded, I can switch between mutation and resistance. Back to the desolate ruined scene of the stadium. Dust and sand were still being blown around in the air. Junsu appeared with a world-weary face. His eyes were dark and tired, plus his forehead was black. He sat leaning against the wall next to a pile of garbage. His whole body relaxed with his thoughts. It felt like all his joints and muscles were out of place. I never want to go through this again. Junsu propped himself up, though his legs were still trembling from exhaustion. From the mutated Neem's mouth, a purple pearl the size of a fist flew out. He quickly caught that pearl, his face bowed, his expression unreadable. Immediately after, Junsu looked up, revealing a contorted smile. A level 1 mana core is worth it. He jumped up and down like a child given candy. I have a level 1 mana core now. Doing cleaning work really pays off big time. Captain Hero and the others walked over hesitantly, asking, Are you okay? He voiced the confusion of the others. You were mutated, what happened? Junsu silently observed the people in front of him. If there are any strange rumors about me, it will be troublesome. He quickly talked nonsense to gloss over the matter. Sort of, I'm not sure if I can change back or not. It was just luck. Captain Hero, hearing this, was dissatisfied and asked further, what because of luck? But still, before he could finish, Junsu had thrust a handful of something yellow into his hand and said, Here, take this. Then he dusted off his butt and left, leaving the group with a leisurely retreating figure. Let's go out. I need to breathe some fresh air. The group hadn't yet processed the mutation incident when they excitedly cheered, Level 0 mana cores. Oh my god, how many are there? Junsu glanced at the group behind him and smiled faintly. Since I saved their lives and even gave them mana cores, they'll keep my secret, right? Captain Hero watched his retreating figure with a complicated gaze, his hand still holding the pile of Level 0 mana cores. Back to the HR office on a warm, sunny morning. Choi Seong-gu rubbed his hands fawningly. I heard you've worked very hard. You must have gone through something terrible. Junsu, holding a cup of water, chuckled faintly and replied, Well, it was a bit difficult. He shivered slightly. Why is he suddenly flattering me like this? Choi Seong-gu quickly explained about past events. Anyway, you should have told me you weren't an ordinary person. Then we would have arranged a better job for you. Junsu took a sip of water to hide his sarcastic expression. He probably thinks I'm a superhuman. He quickly recalled that the game he was playing was Mysterious Soul. All characters in the game have their own unique attributes. Superhumans are those who have awakened their powers and possess immense mana. In a world like this, strength is power. Superhumans here are considered nobles. The rim of the paper cup was completely deformed. Junsu sneered. He thinks that way, and it's understandable because only a superhuman can defeat those mutants. He looked at the sycophant before him and sighed internally. Although I only won thanks to those attributes, Choi Seong-gu bowed his head, rummaged around, and then said, I think I should pay you your remuneration. Junsu replied calmly, That would be great. But inwardly, he was extremely smug. Just let him temporarily think I'm a superhuman. Choi Seong-gu took out a paper bag of money and then started calculating. You've cleared 5 areas. We charge a 20% fee on the 50 million won. If divided among the team members, I'll give you 5 million. He threw a stack of money on the table, slowly expressing, but this time, it's a bit different. Junsu saw the stack of money, his eyes fixed, unable to look away. He looked at the stacks of money on the table, his mouth agape in amazement at Choi Seong-gu's words. We will only charge a 5% fee. And there's a bonus for you too. He screamed in horror. 20 million. Junsu's expression gradually became distorted and lost its humanity as he realized being a superhuman must be great. Choi Seong-gu's voice sounded like he was negotiating, I hope to continue working with you. After finishing the conversation and stepping out of the HR office, Junsu happily walked while humming a tune. Now that I have a lot of money, what should I spend it on? Suddenly, a man with a crew cut spoke up, making him pause. You seem to be in a good mood. The man with a sad face standing tiredly continued. You must have been paid a lot. Junsu scratched his head, flustered, and replied, Yes, the work is done. He felt a bit awkward, realizing this was the person he had worked with before. The man scratched his head awkwardly before tentatively asking, Well, the reason I came here is because I want to ask you for a favor. Hearing that, he was very surprised and asked back. The man scratched his cheek, looking flustered. My wife is sick, so I was wondering if you could lend me some money. Junsu's expression tensed at the man's words. Sorry for asking you like this when we've only worked together once, but he pursed his lips thoughtfully. Helping someone I don't know isn't a very good idea. Junsu looked at the man, bowing deeply, and pondered, Who knows if he'll stab me in the back? Just living my own life is hard enough, but after a moment of thought, he took the man's hand, pulled him up, and said, Oh my, don't do that. You're older than me, sir. Junsu thrust a handful of level 0 mana cores into his hand and instructed, "It's not much, but please take it." The man was so startled his hand trembled while Junsu clicked his tongue. But just ignoring it isn't quite right. Night had fallen. Warm yellow lights illuminated the dark space. The man who just moments ago looked pitiful was now holding out a handful of golden mana cores, his face contorted in a grin. What an idiot, just pretending to be poor for a bit, and he gave this much. Captain Hero held a cigarette and smirked. Has he never encountered this before? The man with the crew cut began to fantasize about power. I bet he'd give me more if I said my child was sick. He frowned in annoyance. The annoying thing is that he gets paid more than us. The money he gave is just a small fraction of what he gets for pretending to be a superhuman. Captain Hero also said unhappily, "He's not even a superhuman. It's best to teach him a lesson." The crew cut guy quickly asked, "Any ideas?" He quickly sneered, "Do you even need to ask?" Captain Hero laughed arrogantly, thinking himself superior. He sneered contemptuously. That idiot must have some strange ability. Meanwhile, Junsu had no idea he was being targeted and was still excited about his heroic dream. Being a good person is so fun. At this rate, I'll become the hero of this world. Captain Hero on this side was plotting with his accomplices. Since we know his secret then, he clenched his fist, causing the handful of level 0 mana cores to scatter everywhere. His expression was terrifying, his fist clenched laughing like a demon from hell. Let him know how scary this world is. Morning sunlight fell on the quiet apartment complex. Reflected in the glass door was the image of people lying comfortably. Junsu was comfortably lying on the bed, enjoying a massage service, and constantly exclaiming, "Having money is truly blissful. I never thought I'd get to lie down for a massage in a place like this." In the game, it's really much better than reality. Suddenly, he felt a strong squeeze on his bicep and shivered. He grimaced from the pain in his muscles. "I've spent 3 days resting in this hotel and it still hurts. From now on, I have to think carefully before using any new mutation-related features." Junsu had drawn a conclusion after that outburst. The transformation attribute isn't as omnipotent as I thought. My body transforms depending on each attribute. The more the body transforms, the more severe the side effects. He lay prone on the bed, sighing softly. The problem is, can I survive after restricting the use of attributes? While lying idly, he suddenly saw something below the building through the glass window. It turned out to be a group of black-suited bodyguards helping their master monopolize the swimming pool. Junsu thought for a moment, then said, "Wait, aren't they the Iron Fist gang? Still strutting around like that, huh?" He lay relaxing with wandering thoughts. Mysterious Soul is ruled by several gangs, not by any laws. Junsu looked at the heavily tattooed old man lying arrogantly and felt pity. It's only natural because there are too many monsters here and everyone is forced to depend on superhumans. He lay on the bed, sighing. The first time I might succeed in surviving, but if I only rely on a few attributes in this deadly, dangerous place, it's truly foolish. With that, he gave another contorted, unreadable smile that reeked of malice. Junsu rubbed his chin, smiling calculatingly. "Right? I can't do without auxiliary items, huh?" In front of the Soul Missy store, it was bustling with people in the late afternoon. The female shop owner crossed her arms and asked, "Are you here to sell something?" The young man, hands in his pockets, looked around the store and replied, "Yes, I have some monster byproducts." The girl looked down with a judgmental gaze and then spoke first. "Let me tell you up front." She was blunt. "I don't buy level 0 mana cores." Junsu tightened his backpack strap and replied seriously, "I know." He quickly put on his backpack and then unzipped it, searching for something. "What I want to sell is—" After Junsu presented a mana core the size of a fist, the salesgirl was immediately stunned. She was startled by this item. "This is a level 2 mana core," he said very confidently. "Take a good look." Back to when Junsu was struggling with a mountain of mana cores in the hotel. He was extremely satisfied with his previous efforts. It's good that she's surprised. It really wasn't a waste of my hard work in the hotel. He thought with great excitement. I've infused everything I have into it. Thank heavens it has become a level 2 mana core. He tried to suppress a vulgar laugh that was about to escape his lips when he saw that shining stack of gold coins. Each level will have a different price. The higher the level, the higher the price. The shop owner handed over the money and announced, "This is 4.77 million won for this mana core." Junsu replied delightedly, "Thanks." As soon as he received the money, he quickly got to the main point. "Do you sell any weapons or armor here?" The owner smiled warmly. "Of course we do. Over here." He eagerly followed the entrance to the counter that the owner had just pointed to with a serious expression. Immediately after, Junsu broke into a happy smile when he saw the items inside. Seeing a vast array of melee and ranged weapons neatly displayed made him exclaim with excitement, "Wow, they have everything here, huh?" He was overjoyed when all the basic essential items in the game are here. Right after the owner's instruction, "Feel free," Junsu, like a cat that saw fat, panted and replied, "Of course." Now his mind was only on getting himself equipped. The backpack Junsu brought was stuffed full of weapons. There were firearm swords looking very impressive. He walked and sang with great excitement. "Now I have weapons too. Finally, it feels like I'm playing Mysterious Soul." Suddenly, a hurried voice called out, making Junsu startle and turn around. "Young man," a girl carrying a backpack walked over and asked, "Are you a mercenary? I need help." Junsu, fearing trouble, quickly waved his hand in refusal. "I shouldn't. You can find someone else." The girl took out a wad of money and pleaded, "I'm on a business trip, but the Iron Fist gang is threatening me." The pitiful girl begged, "Can you protect me until I reach my lodging?" Seeing the money, he wavered a bit. "100 DUZs earned for a bodyguard. It's like a daily quest. Anyway, I'm fully equipped, so let's try it once." After careful thought, Junsu placed his hand on the girl's shoulder, looking trustworthy. "I can't let a girl like you be in danger." He pointed to the sky, cheerfully commanding, "Let's go, shall we?" The girl quickly rubbed her hands happily and replied, "Thank you." Night had fallen. Yellowish-brown streetlights illuminated the small road. The girl leading the way said excitedly, "Almost there this way," while Junsu was cautiously following behind. He hesitated a bit, sensing something bad was coming. Why is she staying in such a shady place? Not even an ant is here, let alone a person. Suddenly, at a corner, the girl sped up, like the wind, leaving only a hasty retreating figure and a vague sentence. "In this alley." Junsu looked into the deep, dark alley with some hesitation. The girl had now become hazy, her features indistinct in the darkness, accompanied by hurried urging, "Almost there, hurry up." Junsu scratched his head as he walked forward, confused. Why is this place so dark? An eye flashed with a brilliant golden light, accompanied by a deep voice. "That way, you can't see anything, right?" The system quickly announced. "Receive night vision attribute." Junsu was surprised. "I can see now, but I didn't expect to receive an attribute." That weak girl pulled out a small gun and aimed the dark barrel forward. She laughed menacingly and said, "You're more careful than I thought." Junsu bowed his head, his face pale at the rapid developments before him. A gun? This woman, he tightened the strap of his backpack quickly, understanding the root of the problem. Wait, is this a trap? When he turned his head to look back, Captain Hero was already standing menacingly behind him. He laughed barbarically. "Where do you think you're going?" From other small alleys, the ambushers stepped out one by one. Junsu was bewildered, not recognizing the person in front of him. Meanwhile, that person sneered and said, "Meeting again like this is fun, isn't it?" He looked around, bewildered, not understanding what was happening. "What did I do to deserve this?" Captain Hero closed his eyes and said, as if it were obvious, "Nothing, you just look stupid. There's no other reason, you fool." Before he could finish, Junsu had bolted, leaving the group stunned. The bastard was talking and just ran off. Captain Hero immediately ordered the girl with the gun to shoot Junsu. Shoot him! A crisp shot rang out. The bullet sped and hit the back of the young man who was desperately fleeing. Rain pattered down on the motionless body lying amidst the stairs. Captain Hero and his accomplices caught up and saw this, complaining, "What the hell? You should have just shot him in the leg, not above." The girl didn't care and waved her hand dismissively. That's better than letting him escape. He was worried because the plan had failed. Damn it, is he dead or what? In front of them was Junsu lying in a contorted position. They discussed animatedly. He turned back into a human after mutating. Surely some mage will want to buy his body. But we'll make more money if he's alive. The crew cut guy coldly urged the leader, now just rob his backpack and equipment first. Captain Hero didn't object, just rubbed his head tiredly. Probably nothing valuable. Just do that first. Huh. In the blink of an eye, the body that was lying on the ground just moments ago had disappeared, leaving only a thin pool of blood in its place. The group was utterly bewildered. Feeling a chill run down their spines, they shouted loudly, "Where's his body?" Suddenly, the light bulb above shattered and fell. Something had attacked the crew cut guy's nape, to Captain Hero's astonishment. Without the streetlight, the space quickly plunged into darkness. Rain drizzled, making the group uneasy. What was that? Captain Hero, sweating profusely, looked around and voiced his speculation. Don't tell me he's still alive. Eyes with a brilliant golden light emanating from the pupils made it look truly grotesque, accompanied by a gloomy voice. Unfortunately, that's right. Junsu looked at his current attribute panel and laughed excitedly. How could I die at the hands of a backstabber? He joyfully recalled when he was still at the weapon shop. Luckily, I was wearing a bulletproof vest in the store. Remembering the scene of being shot just now, he silently felt lucky to have received the needed attribute. It turned out Junsu had received the feigned death attribute after being attacked. Captain Hero's group looked around in panic. The crowd was panicking and screaming, "He broke all the lights, can't see anything." While he was panickedly looking around, Junsu had already stealthily approached him from behind. "Where the hell is he?" he laughed chillingly. "Looking for me." He quickly struck, accompanied by a cold concluding sentence. "I saved your life, so now I'll take it back." Captain Hero gritted his teeth in fear and cursed, "Son of a bitch!" The moment Junsu swung his fist, carrying the sound of tearing wind along with a cold voice as if from hell, terrified everyone. "Because I saved your life now, I'll take it back." Captain Hero only managed to utter two words, "bastard," immediately after he took a full punch to the face. With just one brutal punch, he had sent the arrogant man from before flying. Captain Hero wiped the blood from his nose from the punch and sat on the ground in terror. Immediately after, he quickly rushed forward, aiming a kick at Junsu's neck, but Junsu quickly dodged it. His eyes flashed with a strange golden light, accompanied by a punch like a divine strike landing straight on Captain Hero's face. He said contemptuously, "You should have been grateful that I saved your life. Do you think killing your benefactor is the right thing to do?" Before he could get his bearings, Junsu landed another kick to his face, so painful that his nose bled again. That hard, leather-shoed foot rose again, preparing for another kick. Captain Hero's female accomplice quickly fired to support her teammate. She raised her gun threateningly, while also checking the situation. "That guy over there, Captain Hero, are you okay?" The bullet just now had shot straight into Junsu's arm. He clicked his tongue in annoyance. "I was too careless." He glanced at the girl holding the gun and lamented, "In this mysterious soul, the scariest thing isn't monsters or mutants, but humans." Junsu bent slightly, reaching for something in his pants pocket. If she played with guns, he would play with guns with her too. He resolved to aim. "I won't make that mistake again." A shot was fired. The girl was shot in the wrist, causing her to unexpectedly drop her gun. Immediately after, a shot was embedded in the accomplice next to her, who was intending to turn and flee. Rain still drizzled in the dark alley. Junsu stood tall, holding his gun, looking down at the defeated group, and declared, "That's enough." A bullet quickly embedded itself in the wall as if warning this group of thugs to be more obedient. Behind Junsu, Captain Hiro's figure appeared wanting to launch a sneak attack. He was clicking his tongue, deciding, just kill Hiro to be sure. Sensing danger approaching, the young man quickly turned his head back immediately. Although he reacted very quickly, Junsu was still hit by Captain Hiro's sneak attack. His legs were now replaced by flexible hooves. He hesitated slightly. His legs have transformed. It turned out that after the fight, Captain Hiro himself had awakened a new attribute, level 1 superhuman Hiro. Junsu gritted his teeth in anger at this. He successfully evolved into a superhuman. Then, the game developers are truly scummy. To explain a bit about superhuman awakening, all characters in the game can awaken into superhumans. For example, Warrior Kim can evolve into Superhuman Warrior Kim, because this is the basic development system of this game. Back to the fight in the small alley. Captain Hiro was very smug and declared, "I'll kill you." Junsu, however, was thinking about something else. In this mysterious soul world, a level 1 superhuman is already strong enough to kill a gunman. His eyes silently assessed Captain Hiro's current condition. In other words, I'll have to fight a superhuman with this ordinary body. While lost in thought, Captain Hiro's figure suddenly vanished, startling him. Junsu's face turned pale, sweat dripping from his chin due to the unfolding events. He disappeared. As for Captain Hiro at this moment, he was skillfully using his attributes to find an opportunity for a sneak attack. Speaking of Hiro's attributes, it's stereoscopic rock movement. Agile footsteps jab onto walls with astonishing speed. Speaking of stereoscopic movement, the user can use the flexibility of their legs to move in any direction. Although he couldn't see Captain Hiro's movements, Junsu's intuition was still very strong, and he looked around cautiously. He was now running quickly on the wall and lunging from behind him. He was a bit slow to react. He's using stereoscopic movement to climb the building wall. Captain Hiro jumped down from above, wanting to finish Junsu with a kick. He roared ferociously, "I'll kill you." Meanwhile, he quickly thought of a way to dodge this kick. A loud bang echoed. The ground shattered under the force of the kick. Meanwhile, he had safely slid to one side. Realizing he had failed, Captain Hiro gritted his teeth in anger. "You dodged it." He quickly used those hooved feet to move as fast as lightning towards him. Captain Hiro landed another kick on Junsu's back, accompanied by a malicious voice, "But this time, you can't dodge it." He laughed triumphantly. Green veins bulged on his jaw, looking even more terrifying. Before he could celebrate, he froze stiff upon hearing a familiar voice. "Sorry, but I didn't plan to dodge." It turned out Junsu had managed to take out a sword just in time to block Captain Hiro's hooves. Even though busy, he was calm and even had time to add fuel to the fire. "You animal." He was extremely smug because he had prepared everything in advance. "I knew buying unstable was the right decision." Back to a few hours ago when Junsu was still at the weapon shop. Standing before a diverse rack of weapons, he was also hesitating in his choice. He rubbed his chin, extremely doubtful, still hesitating. Should I buy a gun? But Junsu quickly analyzed in his head. Since my character is a warrior type, if I want to become stronger, using a gun seems inconvenient. His hands quickly reached for the melee weapons displayed on the table. Just in case, I'll quickly get this too. Junsu's hand lifted the unstable item, examining it. His eyes intently looked at every detail. Back to the small alley on this rainy day, Junsu was using unstable to block Captain Hiro's hooves, silently lamenting, "Each character has their own suitable weapon type." He swung unstable forcefully in his hand, aiming to knock Captain Hiro off balance and send him tumbling backward. Junsu quickly gripped unstable in his hand, his will boiling as he thought, that's why to defeat him. He gritted his teeth, swung unstable high to gain momentum, and silently analyzed, I need to use a melee weapon and have attributes suitable for a warrior. Following that, unstable was also swung with powerful force. The sound of tearing wind whistled, making one's teeth ache. Junsu used the unstable staff to strike the level 1 warrior hero who was so smug just moments ago. The system quickly announced the timely progress, received an attack attribute. Junsu laughed excitedly looking at the unstable staff now imbued with magic. Excellent. My very own first attribute. The specialized attribute of an attack warrior. As if empowered, his steps also became stronger and more agile. Junsu quickly decided the course of the battle. A low blow, this hook punch, uppercut. Although he had planned the steps, Captain Hero still managed to dodge. As if predicting his movement, he quickly dodged that unexpected leg sweep. Although he dodged the danger, Captain Hero also quickly realized he had fallen into a passive position. He was eager to regain the advantage and lowered his center of gravity, swinging a powerful kick at Junsu's chest. Because it was so sudden, he struggled a bit to dodge. Damn it, there's an opening. Should I dodge? It's come to this point I can't stop anymore. Junsu's eyes blazed. A red, murderous aura swirled around him, accompanied by the sound of grinding teeth. He swung his arm, smashing, unstable hard into Captain Hero's hip. Even though he was kicked in the arm, he was extremely determined. Even if his bones were shattered, he was resolved to attack to the end. His arm was struck by Captain Hero's kick, causing sharp pain as if several bones had broken. On the other side, he wasn't much better off, his thigh taking a full blow from Junsu's staff, causing excruciating pain. Unstable was quickly covered again by a dense layer of dark blue magic, looking like a staff burning with a blue flame. The system announced, "You have received the combo attribute." Just waiting for that, Junsu put on a twisted smile. That's it. As if injected with chicken blood, Junsu continuously rained down a flurry of staff blows on Captain Hero, the best warrior attribute in the early stages attack and combo. At this point, Captain Hero was completely overwhelmed and fell into a passive state. He could only scream, "Stop," and take the beating. Of course, only an idiot would stop now. Junsu quickly delivered the finishing blow to him. His eyes were ghastly white, his mouth open as if to scream in pain but unable to. At this point, victory and defeat were clear. Junsu jumped for joy next to Captain Hero's limp body. Success. I defeated him. Raindrops fell ceaselessly. When they came into contact with his fist, they sizzled and smoked. His whole body continuously emitted smoke, confusing him. What is this feeling? A whirlwind gathered around Junsu while he was trembling in pain. My whole body hurts terribly. There's something inside. It felt like being electrocuted, burned, making him clutch his chest in pain. He was extremely bewildered. Don't tell me this is... An intense golden light radiated around him, accompanied by screams of pain. His hands sizzled and smoked. Following that was a golden flame flickering and burning. Junsu looked at his body in utter amazement. The day I realized the harsh truth in this mysterious soul, the system timely issued a congratulatory announcement. Level 1 Awakening Superhuman Warrior Kim. Junsu examined his newly transformed superhuman body with a puzzled expression. His hand emitted a brilliant, beautiful golden flame. This is proof of superhuman status. His fist quickly clenched. The flame accordingly flared up intensely. He quietly muttered 2 words in his heart. Superhuman. Junsu looked up at the sky and laughed excitedly. He wanted to shout to the whole world, "I've finally become a superhuman." The young man's face quickly became contorted with joy. His expression also gradually became more perverted. He did a handstand, his 2 legs flailing in the air with joy. Not only do I have a high-paying job, but I can also get a bank loan at a low interest rate. A man with a cigar in his mouth appeared and asked tentatively, "Success, huh?" Junsu was pulled from his joy and quickly turned to look at the person who had just appeared. The newcomer was a tall man with a mechanical arm carrying a machine gun and a long ammo belt slung over his body. He quickly recognized the person as Iron Fist Kim. He was the second basic character in Mysterious Soul after Warrior Kim. According to Junsu's understanding, this is a character who was originally a Special Forces soldier, primarily uses weapons and specializes in shooting with a prosthetic hand. Although he knew this, he was also very cautious, because the problem was that Iron Fist Kim was the terrifying boss of the Iron Fist faction in the underworld. Unsu was extremely worried about this person's appearance in the small alley. Because I fought in their territory, I must have provoked them. Iron Fist. Kim threw the machine gun to his underlings. He slowly walked over and got straight to the point. Didn't you check where this place was before coming here to cause trouble? His face turned pale with fear, but he still answered firmly, I was suddenly attacked, and besides, I can't die here. He didn't bother listening to explanations, pulled out his pistol and loaded it. Are you saying those guys are scarier than the Iron Fist faction? Junsu slowly stepped back with a hesitant look. Damn guns. If I fight now, I'll definitely die. Iron Fist Kim pressed the gun to his chest and said, My friend, you just made a fatal mistake. He bit his cigar and coldly uttered, I'll show you the consequences of trespassing on our territory. Hearing his threat, Junsu lowered his head and pursed his lips, unsure of what he was thinking. He suddenly spoke, surprising the man. Is that all? But you forgot one thing. Junsu raised his hand and decisively grabbed the gun, pointing at him. He declared confidently, I'm not the type to die so easily, accompanied by a clicking sound from the gun. The bullet quickly left the barrel, shooting straight into Junsu's shoulder, to Iron Fist Kim's astonishment. He broke out in a cold sweat, thinking, did this bastard just pull the trigger on himself? Junsu bent over, clutching his bleeding wound. To the astonishment of the surrounding crowd, he still had enough strength to utter two words. What's this? It turned out he had received a new attribute, regeneration. Blue light emanated, healing the wound, while he sneered, It's just like an itch. Iron Fist Kim laughed delightedly. Look at you. That's a pretty interesting ability. Junsu smiled contentedly. The upgraded version of the wound recovery attribute is regeneration. This is an attribute one can get upon becoming a level 1 superhuman. He looked at the burly, fierce group before him and silently resolved, if they underestimate me, it's over for them. So I need to scare them a bit. He cleverly pointed at Captain Hero's group lying scattered around and threatened, see that I'm still alive and it's not because of luck. I don't care who you are. If you dare mess with this warrior Kim, then prepare yourself. Iron Fist. Kim held his cigar and laughed with amusement. Warrior Kim? Huh, is that your name? I like your guts. He stepped forward, suddenly compromising, which surprised Junsu. All right, I'll let you go this time. That means you owe me this time. He used his mechanical arm to pat Junsu's shoulder forcefully, feigning closeness. Iron Fist. Kim leaned in and whispered, I know you understand what it means. Junsu looked weak, but outwardly he still acted strong and responded, Okay, if I remember, I remember. A bit suspicious. Did he recognize me? Iron Fist Kim proactively extended his mechanical hand, appearing friendly. All right, let's cooperate next time. Junsu looked at the extended hand with slight apprehension. Iron Fist. Kim isn't the type to easily show his true colors. Cooperating with him isn't a bad choice either. After weighing the pros and cons, he quickly extended his hand and replied, All right. The two smiled meaningfully and shook hands. He also proactively said goodbye. At the superhuman towers, Jamseo had many aircraft flying in the sky. Junsu took off his sunglasses and smiled with amusement. I don't know what it looks like in the game, but it looks truly magnificent. He looked around with sparkling eyes like a country bumpkin in the city and kept exclaiming, A world of difference from my town. A girl with a mole under her cheek was cheerfully welcoming. Thank you for visiting the superhuman tower. The beautiful, elegantly dressed girl approached and inquired, Can I help you with anything, sir? Junsu the country bumpkin was stunned with a blushing face. So beautiful. His thoughts raced. But she looks familiar. Is she a robot? The girl still said cheerfully, if you're here to get your superhuman certificate. She pointed in a direction decorated like cosmic virtual reality technology. Please go to that machine over there to measure your mana and check your attributes. Junsu in his beach attire let out a soft, "Oh," and replied, "Thank you." Dragging his flip-flops towards the indicated direction, he silently lamented inwardly, "I didn't even ask and she already pointed me here. I must look really goofy." He walked to the testing machine and silently encouraged himself, "Anyway, once I get the certificate, I'll start a new life in Seoul." Suddenly, Junsu's face turned pale and he sweated profusely as if he'd been bathing upon seeing something. What the? The people around were excitedly clasping their hands and cheering. "Look up at the ceiling. The Saintess is here." Junsu looked up with a funeral-like expression. Saintess. Above on the ceiling, an aircraft was emitting a dazzling golden light. He was very confused. That's just an aircraft. The dazzling golden light shone directly from the aircraft down right in front of Junsu, making him jump, while everyone else was bowing their heads in prayer. His eyes widened so much they looked like they would pop out. Meanwhile, he was also bewildered by the events before him. In front of him was a girl fully equipped and two bodyguards stepping out from the golden light. Junsu was astonished by the saintess before him. Seeing the familiar face, the young man sighed again. "Why is the boss here?" The surrounding crowd continuously performed rituals. "Welcome, Saintess. The Saintess has arrived." Junsu was still in shock. "I'm still in the tutorial quest, so the Saintess appeared instead of the boss." The sight of warships continuously dropping bombs destroying cities made him sob. But the story will develop in a different direction. The Saintess with a crazed expression that made one's hair stand on end. Her true identity revealed was indeed the Saintess. It's just a cult disguised as a religion, and they will start slaughtering people mercilessly. The gentle folk still don't know their future. They are devoutly worshipping that bloodthirsty Saintess. Is the Saintess here to measure her magic power? She must have leveled up again. The patterns on the testing machine gradually lit up, making everyone hold their breath in anticipation. The dazzling golden light made the people stumble and turn away. The Saintess remained motionless before the light. Her entire body was enveloped in a soft golden light. She smiled with satisfaction. Junsu covered his face and muttered a complaint, the noise of this measuring machine. The light had crept over all the patterns on the magic power measuring machine. A stream of golden light snaked through the air as if it had a soul. The space returned to silence. The crowd clasped their hands in anticipation while Junsu didn't understand what was happening. The people pursed their lips anxiously. Everyone looked pensive as if waiting for something important. The measuring machine quickly announced the result. Saintess 27, a level 8 magic priest with 6 ring attributes. The crowd erupted at this news, while the Saintess was very pleased. What level 8 and 6 attributes? That's truly terrifying. Junsu's face darkened with worry about his fate. This isn't the time to scream. He quickly realized the future difficulties when a level 8 superhuman could be compared to an entire Air Force squadron. Junsu also felt scared when this is a national-level superpower. The Saintess holding a hammer smiled mysteriously, sending shivers down his spine. Would someone like that cause Seoul to be destroyed in the future? Seeing the joyful people made him feel awkward. Even if I said it now, they would just throw stones at me and call me crazy. Junsu walked up to the measuring machine and activated it. Now let's just measure the magic power. A newcomer like me with 6 attributes would attract a lot of attention, so I should just leave 3. The Saintess had also noticed him because he paid no attention to her. The guard quickly asked Han, "Sir, is something wrong?" She quickly replied, "It seems there's someone unusual here." The Saintess quickly approached Junsu from behind and said, "It seems your abilities are quite interesting." He got goosebumps and turned to look at her smiling face. Oh my God, that startled me. He quickly calmed down and realized the approaching danger. Wait a minute. What did I just hear? Looking at the saintess's chilling smile, Junsu thought in amazement. Have I been discovered changing my attributes? Looking at the saintess's smiling face, Junsu thought in amazement. Have I been discovered changing my attributes? Junsu's face turned pale while the attribute panel was still wide open there. The guard, noticing something strange, immediately voiced his confusion. Why is the saintess talking to him? He looks like an ordinary person. The armored arm quickly grabbed Junsu's hand before he could react. The saintess smiled amicably. May I ask your name? Seeing her creepy smile, he stammered, It's Warrior Kim. As he was speaking, Junsu suddenly paused as he remembered something. The only reason a priest would ask someone's name in this mystical soul is the saintess, with a holy aura emanating from her, closed her eyes and prayed, Warrior Kim, on behalf of the Great Father, I shall baptize you. Her eyes sparkled like stars. Our old father, the Lord of the Black Dragon throne, always craves rare power like yours. Where their hands met, a golden incantation appeared. Following that, dark energy began to wrap around Junsu's arm amidst the saintess's hypnotic voice. Follow him and seek peace in this hellish world. The surrounding crowd, seeing this, felt a sourness in their hearts and said, He's being baptized, so jealous. And it's even being done by the father's eldest daughter herself. The dark energy had now spread close to Junsu's neck. He tensed up, drenched in sweat, as if holding back something. Damn it. He quickly realized the saintess's intention. If I get baptized and receive the baptism attribute, then I'll have no choice but to become their knight. A scene of chaotic warfare, dense smoke and fire along with warships exploding in midair appeared. The saintess struggled on her knees, a sword at her neck, making Junsu exclaim, But the Godfather's army in the battle against South Korea suffered a disastrous defeat in Seoul. Returning to the present, his hand was still tightly grasped by the saintess. The incantation continued to spread. Junsu used all his might to pull his hand back, wanting to interrupt this baptism. It was like being forced to invest in stocks that were about to go bankrupt. The people praying under the holy light were stunned by the situation before them. Junsu knelt on the ground, panting. The incantation was still visible on his arm, but he didn't care and pleaded, I refuse the baptism. Hearing this, the saintess was extremely surprised and stared, asking again, Did I hear that correctly? Junsu narrowed his eyes, panting weakly as he explained, No, I'm serious. The saintess bowed her head, her expression unreadable. Her cold voice emphasized, Very well, whether you accept or refuse is your freedom. She rushed forward, grabbed his hand, and tried to persuade him. However, the Godfather has already taken an interest in you. Where the saintess's hand touched, his dark energy began to emanate again, wanting to penetrate his body. She smirked threateningly. Don't forget that the divine dust has already taken root inside you. At the same time, Junsu also felt pressure from his shoulder. Her voice, cold as a venomous snake, made people shiver, not from cold, but from fear. If you can't overcome that tiny speck of dust, then your desire for freedom. After saying that, the saintess turned and left, leaving Junsu still dazed and uncomprehending. His frightened eyes looked at his shoulder, where a mixed black and gold flame was burning. The words echoed in his ears. It's also useless. The flame quickly blazed fiercely. Junsu, at the center, completely engulfed by the flames, was kneeling on the ground, screaming with his face upturned. Seeing his pained appearance, the people around whispered amongst themselves, How can a new soldier like him refuse baptism? Is he an atheist, poor thing? Currently, Junsu is undergoing divine punishment. He will have to endure pain for refusing baptism. He knelt on the ground in anger. I was mentally prepared, but it hurts so much it feels like my body is on fire. He quickly recalled information about this punishment. Divine punishment is one of the most powerful effects in this entire mystical soul. It causes the sensation of continuous burning, making it impossible for the afflicted to live normally. Junsu thought of a way to solve it, but was helpless because the only way to remove divine punishment is to go to the temple for baptism. He collapsed in pain on the ground under the gaze of the crowd. I refused it because I was worried about the future. Junsu's eyes became lifeless. His body was still tormented by pain. Desperate thoughts also crossed his mind. But it seems like I'm about to die now. Suddenly, a stream of water appeared. The pure, fresh stream of water, both soft and firm, rushed towards him. Like a powerful spring, it splashed onto Junsu's dazed face. His mind was blank. His blurry eyes saw the figure of someone dousing him with water and calling out incessantly, which he found very confusing. Who could that be? It turned out to be the receptionist from earlier, extremely worried and asking, "Warrior, are you all right?" Junsu was a little surprised. That was the person who guided me before. Even though he was being tormented by divine punishment, he was very grateful to her. Usually no one would agree to help someone afflicted by divine punishment for fear of getting involved themselves. So touching. He felt as if he had gained strength and tried to sit up with the thought, all right, just endure a little longer. Junsu tried to calm himself into a meditative state. He was struggling against this painful punishment. Thanks to that, he managed to activate the divine resistance attribute. He suddenly opened his eyes with a determined thought. I didn't refuse baptism thoughtlessly. Junsu pondered his decision. The effect of the divine punishment debuff will strengthen based on the target's total magic power. Since I'm still a level 1 superhuman, the debuff's effect is quite weak, so I've thought of a few ways. Junsu's trembling arm lifted. The first condition is to obtain the divine resistance attribute. Now I can concentrate the magic power in my body. He quickly changed the attributes on his equipment panel to prepare for a counterattack. The punishing flame blazed more intensely, causing Junsu to scream in pain, his face upturned to the sky. Seeing this, the receptionist continuously tried to cool him down by dousing him with water. She kept encouraging him, "You can do it." He also felt a brief coolness and exclaimed, "In this situation, this is truly the water of life." Junsu panted, his mouth open, and quickly encouraged himself. I have to focus on this contrast. The crimson flame blazed intensely. Just looking at it, you could feel its heat. The gentle, soft stream of water just looking at it felt cool and refreshing, making one feel pleasant. The surrounding space seemed to sink into silence. Junsu focused on condensing the two powers of fire and water. The two conflicting attributes constantly clashed fiercely, yet they still found a point of harmony as the burning pain and the cold sensation blended together. After focusing on sensing and regulating, Junsu's eyes snapped open. If I use the magic power in my body, I can extinguish the flame. His entire body emitted a cold blue light. The golden flame of divine punishment also vanished without a trace. The receptionist standing nearby was dazzled by this outburst of power and continuously retreated. Junsu stood up with a cold expression. His entire body, enveloped in blue light, looked very mysterious. The system also updated a new attribute, magic barrier. He smiled smugly for betting correctly. I did it. This is a level 1 defensive attribute that a warrior must have, magic barrier. The receptionist hesitantly approached and asked Han, "Oh my god, are you okay?" Junsu replied cheerfully, "Yes, I'm fine now, thanks to you." The crowd that had been curiously watching was also astonished. He overcame divine punishment. How is that possible? Could he have used some skill to cheat? Junsu didn't bother with the crowd's thoughts and stood there smiling smugly. I haven't completely escaped this debuff yet. This is just a temporary solution to resist it using the barrier. But at least the burning sensation is gone. This black flame is pretty cool, huh? But only a superhuman can see it. His slippered feet moved forward calmly. All right, it's time to measure my magic power. He stepped forward, looking at the activating measuring machine, and exclaimed, "Wow, it's increasing." Aesir. A mechanical sound rang out. Measurement complete. Junsu's face was extremely eager as he looked up. The control panel displayed the stats. Warrior Kim, 22 years old, level 1, magic power 6 ring attributes. The news caused a huge sensation among everyone around. The crowd buzzed. Wow, level 1 but possesses 6 attributes. Looks like he's a super rookie. That's why the Saintess. Hearing that, Junsu snorted in displeasure. Ugh, I'm getting too much attention. My goal is to get stronger quietly. I can't hide the magic barrier attribute either. The receptionist was excited. Congratulations, sir. I've never seen a beginner with 6 ring attributes. She smiled and suggested, now shall we go get your superhuman license? The superhuman tower still stood majestically in the warm sunlight, still making people look up in admiration from afar. A card was placed on the table accompanied by a polite voice. Here's your license. The receptionist congratulated him as Junsu excitedly looked at the card in his hand. Congratulations, you are now officially a superhuman. Just a moment ago he was serious, but Junsu quickly revealed his true nature. I worked really hard to get this. The receptionist laughed and explained, all right then, let me explain the privileges of a level 1 superhuman. First is, he cut her off bluntly. No need I know it all. He quickly rattled off a long list. Tax reduction, the right to carry weapons, and when the level increases, an exemption from arrest, free access to transportation, and many more benefits. She saw him recite it fluently and was stunned speechless. You know it so well. Junsu laughed delightedly. I'm a game addict. I'm an expert in superhuman studies. He suddenly spoke with an embarrassed expression. Well, as you can see, I don't like to waste my time. Outside the classroom, many people were waiting to recruit Junsu into their guilds. He quickly inquired, so is there any way for me to sneak out? The receptionist stood up, hands on her hips, and said, of course I've already prepared it. He asked in surprise, what prepared? Junsu's eyes widened. It was unclear what he saw, but his face flushed suspiciously. The receptionist slung her coat over her shoulder, smiled confidently, and said, don't worry and just follow me. The two walked down the dark corridor. He spoke gratefully. Oh, my thank you for helping me like this. Junsu, wearing a black cloak, turned his head and smiled brightly. Preparing an invisibility cloak and a secret passage like this. She didn't look back and calmly replied, it's nothing, we have to help each other. Looking at the attribute panel, the invisibility attribute had been added. He happily clutched his collar. Amazing, I naturally got such a good attribute. The receptionist pointed to a door and said, now you just need to go out there. Due to the rules, I can only lead you this far. Junsu bowed his head in gratitude. This is already too good. Thank you so much for today. She just shook her head and advised, it's nothing, be careful on your way. He turned to look at her retreating figure and sighed. How can such a kind person exist in this mystical soul? He had sighed inwardly countless times. And she's beautiful too. After I get stronger, I must repay this favor. Junsu bowed his head, looking at the business card curiously. What's her name, I wonder? Let's check the business card. It's unclear what he saw, but he suddenly froze for a few seconds. Wait, what's this? The business card introduced Receptionist of the Baron Superhuman Association. He was very surprised to see this name. In Junsu's mind, an image quickly appeared of a girl holding a large sword standing on a pile of corpses. That's the name of one of the 3 most powerful SSL-class warrior characters in the game. The image of the girl laughing savagely appeared clearly. She was a berserker warrior with an extremely terrifying appearance. Junsu's jaw dropped in shock. No wonder I found her face familiar and strange. Because in the game, her appearance is so terrifying I couldn't make the connection. He couldn't maintain his composure and screamed inwardly. Baron was once such a kind person. What on earth happened to her? With a shout, the last one of slime was cut in half, dropping a level 0 magic core. Junsu panted heavily in front of the ruins, gritting his teeth and roaring, Becoming a superhuman is good for nothing. His face was pale and gaunt. Extremely negative thoughts spread. I've been in this monster-slaying den for over a week. I'm probably about to die from overwork. Junsu slumped to the ground, letting out a breath. Just finished one den and my limbs are already exhausted. The efficiency is really disappointing. He looked at the attribute panel and fell into contemplation. It's all because I completely focused on maintaining the magic shield. He spread out his sword-wielding hand and sighed. If I could customize the attributes to specialize in monster slaying, it would have been done long ago. I can't do other things because my power will be reduced. An image of a miraculous potion flashed in Junsu's mind. I need a rare potion called Nectar to get rid of the divine fever. He collapsed, bowing down and punching the ground. But it has an exorbitant price. How can this cleaning job afford it? While he was moping, the phone in Junsu's pocket vibrated intensely. He took out his phone and saw the caller's name. Immediately after, he cursed angrily. How many times has this guy called already? Persistent as a leech. His finger moved to the end call button and he said irritably, "No way I'm answering." But right after that, Junsu did a 180-degree turn. His face had an incredibly sly smile. "Wait, I just had a good idea." Back at Sonsu Agency, Choi Seong-gu was all smiles. "Oh my warrior." Kim, he kindly poured water to welcome him with a fawning expression. "You've managed to fight off the divine fever. And you even possess a 6-layered attribute circle. I am truly honored to meet the man from the rumors." Junsu pursed his lips, sipped water, and mumbled a reply. "Well, things suddenly turned out this way." He quickly got straight to the point. "By the way, have you found the job I requested?" Yet Choi Seong-gu stepped back dejectedly. "Oh God, don't mention it." He held a tablet and sighed. "It's very difficult because Nectar is a potion only for level 5 or higher superhumans." Hearing that, Junsu picked up his glass of water and stood up. "If you can't find it, I'm leaving." He quickly stopped him. "No, wait. This concerns my exclusive contract with you. How could I not do it? Of course I've already found it." Hearing that, he laughed excitedly. If Director Choi is that desperate to sign a contract, he'll definitely find the nectar no matter what. That's what he thought, but he still sat quietly drinking water without showing any excitement. "What's the condition?" Choi Seong-gu didn't beat around the bush and passed the tablet over, speaking directly. "Have you heard of Security Team Number 1? Junsu took the tablet, looked at it carefully, and replied, "Security Number 1. This is the first time I've heard of it. Is this a security company?" Choi Seong-gu quickly explained, "It's a private military company, one of the top 10 companies." He quickly showed him pictures of various aircraft tanks of this company. He also continued to introduce the chairman and vice chairman are husband and wife. Both come from a family with a martial arts tradition, so their foundation is very solid. After hearing this information, Junsu didn't understand. They are already that rich. What else do they need? Choi Seong-gu quickly mentioned what needed to be resolved here. The problem lies with their son. On the tablet, the image of a handsome young man appeared. He is over 20 years old, but has not yet awakened as a superhuman. Junsu was also a bit confused. Even though both his father and mother come from families with martial arts traditions, Choi Seong-gu quickly continued. There's a rumor that he already has level 8 magic power, but still hasn't awakened. Then he mentioned what he wanted to ask for. The condition is level 1 or a high-level superhuman, so you, Mr. Kim, are perfectly suitable. Hearing that, Junsu was a bit stunned at first, but soon after, he regained his composure and smiled with great interest. He looked at the tablet and enthusiastically spoke about this mission. Let's see. In a beautiful villa with a peaceful appearance, warm sunlight streamed through the lush green garden. Someone was sitting on a chair, but their legs wouldn't stop shaking. Clearly, they were extremely nervous and tense. Choi Seong-gu and Junsu sat in the living room waiting. He continuously shook his leg and said, "It seems the chairman is quite busy. They are not the type to be late." In contrast to Choi Seon-gu's anxious nervousness, Junsu calmly assessed the surroundings. This house must be very expensive. Suddenly, a voice rang out, interrupting the two contrasting states of the two men. Sorry to keep you waiting. The chairman and his wife stepped forward and introduced themselves amicably. We are Seo Dong-do and Lee Miri. Choi Seon-gu shot up and bowed respectfully. It's no problem. Thank you for coming. Junsu bowed his head slightly in greeting and silently assessed. They must be at least level 6 superhumans, right? In his view, the chairman and his wife were exuding a very powerful aura. Both possessed a large amount of magic power. Seo Dong-do frowned in annoyance. One look, and I know this guy is weak. Lee Miri gently scolded her husband. Don't say that. If you continue like this, go to your room. He immediately yielded to his wife and sat down. All right then. Lee Miri, on the other hand, apologized cheerfully. Stubborn one, please have a seat. The two quickly thanked her. Yes, ma'am. She then reconfirmed, since you two are here, I'll consider that you've agreed to our request, right? Junsu said without hesitation. But first I want to see your son's condition. If there's any special reason behind why he can't awaken. Suddenly, a clenched fist slammed hard on the coffee table in the living room, making a deafening sound. Seo Dong-do angrily shot up disdainful. A new soldier dares to speak like that. Lee Miri quickly hugged her husband and reassured him. Honey. Right after she explained, I apologize. He's agitated like this because it concerns our son. She also stated firmly, that's not something I would tell an outsider. If you agree to the request, I will call my son and explain in more detail. Lee Miri looked at Junsu's magic shield and said, I'm sure you're also very eager to obtain the nectar, right? He didn't waver and silently calculated, if their son's problem needs to be kept confidential and they know exactly what I need. Junsu was secretly pleased. Then things will be even more certain. He smiled and replied, Then I accept your request. Please call your son here. After reaching an agreement, they called the main character of the mission. The door slowly opened. The young man stepped in. He gestured vaguely with an evasive demeanor, but still politely introduced himself. Hello, I'm Seujin. Junsu also quickly walked over to him and expressed his goodwill. Yes, nice to meet you. The two shook hands while Junsu also made his first assessment. I can't sense any magic power from him. Really strange. When their hands touched, he also noticed something strange. He inquired, Mr. Ujin, your gloves are really cool. He was a bit flustered by the compliment. Seujin looked at his hand and said sadly, I don't deserve it, but I always use it with gratitude. Junsu, on the other hand, smiled confidently, looking at the glove. I guessed as much. He revealed a secret that astonished everyone in the room, because you need to seal strong magic power. Seeing their expressions, Junsu smiled smugly, as if he had guessed it. He quickly voiced his speculation. When I saw the glove, I became even more certain. Although this issue concerns an important family matter, you aspire to become a level 1 superhuman of the warrior class. Junsu exposed their entire plan, using nectar as bait to attract me. He recalled the Sentessa's frenzied and brutal appearance when she wanted him to submit and concluded, Mr. Ujin has already been baptized by the Godfather, right? Junsu stated exactly what Seujin had experienced. The reason your son still hasn't awakened is because he refused baptism and sealed his magic power to avoid being tortured by divine punishment. His fist clenched as he revealed the long-hidden truth, and you all have to suffer in silence, unable to make it public. Junsu smiled arrogantly. You two must have heard the rumor that a level 1 superhuman defeated divine punishment, so you wanted to find me. Having all his thoughts and plans exposed left Seujin flustered, not knowing what to say. Then he became extremely excited and worshipful. That's amazing. I don't even need to explain anymore. I almost thought you were the main character in a detective novel. Junsu, encouraged, became even more smug. It's just a simple assessment of the situation. Although he appeared arrogant on the outside, it couldn't compare to the smug, cocky expression in his thoughts. knowing the future and all. He quickly recalled, when I saw the photo, I already understood, because in the future, say Ujin, Junsu shivered as he recalled what he knew. He will become the Godfather's vanguard knight. He couldn't stop sighing about this boy's outcome. He refused baptism, but his parents lost their power. Therefore, he joined the Godfather's knightly order. Seo Dung-du, who had been playing the villain, hesitantly stepped forward. Young man. He dropped his role and returned to being a pitiful father, inquiring, is there any way for our Ujin not to be baptized? The three of them are indeed a family with identical silly expressions. Junsu chuckled to himself. Just a moment ago he was so arrogant, and now he's so gentle, huh? That's what he thought, but he still spoke calmly. Of course there is. Junsu was extremely proud. I've been in Mystical Soul for over 10,000 hours, of course I know. He patted Seo Ujin's shoulder reassuringly. Mr. Ujin, I know the pain you've been through. He stated with great confidence. Trust me, I will help you escape it. Hearing that he was so moved that tears of happiness fell, his face also lit up brightly. Everyone in the room hugged each other in a joyful atmosphere. Junsu quietly declared, so what if it's a deity? Dare to lure me into such a lowly religion. His smile became increasingly devoid of humanity. Your future subordinates have fallen into my hands. After the emotion passed, he released Seo Ujin's shoulder and smiled calculatingly. Junsu grabbed his shoulder and said, however, I have one condition before we start the treatment. However, I have one condition before we start the treatment. What a condition? He quickly explained, hasn't the difficulty of this request increased? Lee Miri wiped her tears of joy and replied, that's right, because this isn't just about awakening magic power anymore, it's about escaping divine punishment. Just say it, if you can cure Ujin, then, as if waiting for just that, Junsu gave a sly smile. My condition is, he slowly stated his request. I want to learn the mountain-splitting sword technique. The chairman and his wife, who were joyful, suddenly tensed up. Even Sei Ujin turned pale with fear at this bold request from Junsu. Choi Seong-gu was frozen stiff on the sofa, his face drenched in sweat. A pair of strong legs stepped forward carrying a powerful and aggressive surge of magic power. Lee Miri, her face dark and magic power billowing, spoke. Do you understand what you just said? She looked down from above with sharp, threatening eyes. This woman only now revealed her own dangerous nature. Seeing this development, Junsu also faltered a bit. His face was pale with fear. From his perspective, Lee Miri seemed to have become a giant exuding a deadly power that made him tremble. What is this killing intent? Finally, Junsu came to a belated conclusion. Now the vice chairman is many times more terrifying than the chairman. At this moment, Seo Dung-du wanted to intervene but was helpless. Honey, be gentle. Junsu silently considered, I know she's angry, but in his mind, the image of the incredibly captivating mountain-splitting sword technique book appeared. He also knew very well others might question why he would learn the mountain-splitting sword technique in the 21st century information age. However, in Mystical Soul, where power equals authority, it's different. The image quickly shifted to a sharp sword strike, cleaving a heavily armored tank. Immediately after, as if hit by a hydraulic press, the tank exploded like a balloon with just one sword strike. Junsu craved it immensely. A superhuman can easily destroy a tank. High-level martial arts can be compared to an entire fleet of fighter jets worth millions of won. He knew very well that if he obtained this sword technique, he would have many more opportunities to cooperate with other powerful individuals. Junsu's desire was to stand at the pinnacle. If a level 1 superhuman continuously trains in the mountain-splitting sword technique, they can easily reach level 4. This is a trick to make the game easier. Returning to the explosive situation in the living room, he scratched his head and thought to himself, I remember only the elite can learn this sword technique. Did I ask for too much? He awkwardly tried to salvage the situation. Of course, only when I complete the mission. Seeing the awkward situation, Seo Ujin quickly stepped in to mediate. Mom. Lee Miri, who was in a frenzied state, seemed to be startled awake from a dream. Her body also gradually relaxed. The magic power also gradually dispersed, returning the space to a gentle state. Okay. She and Seo Dung Du let out a sigh of relief and bowed, asking for a favor. If you succeed, I will give you the chip containing the mountain-splitting sword technique memory, along with the nectar. Seeing the situation gradually turning in his favor made Junsu extremely surprised. Really, he was extremely surprised that everything went so smoothly. The two chairpersons will also compromise on this request. Success. Junsu quickly reacted, bowing respectfully. Thank you both. Inwardly, he was overjoyed. I thought she was going to kill me. Now I can even learn sword techniques. Absolutely wonderful. Lee Miri frowned seriously, speaking about the consequences of the worst outcome. However, if you fail, my husband and I will be disappointed or even angry. Junsu cheerfully affirmed, I guarantee that won't happen. He pointed towards where Seo Ujin was standing with great confidence. All right, the sooner the better. Let's start now. Everyone entered a room with a large circle as requested. The room with the magic power focusing circle. In the middle of that circle were various containers, a sword, a bottle of solution, which according to the introduction was a 200-degree magic power potion. Lee Miri quickly said, We have prepared everything you need. Junsu was extremely satisfied. That's enough. I want to be alone during the treatment process, so she suddenly cut him off and formally apologized. I apologize for what happened earlier. Lee Miri spoke of a tragic past story. My Ujin was forcibly baptized when he first started school. He didn't have a chance to make friends, let alone go on picnics with the family. The image of a small, weak, lonely boy looking out the window. He always had to endure it alone in his small room. As a mother, she bowed deeply and entrusted. Therefore, I became extremely sensitive about that issue. From now on, everything depends on you. Seeing this scene, Junsu was extremely moved. Everyone in this family is tormented by this divine trap. Seo Ujin hurriedly stepped forward and put his arm around Lee Miri's shoulder to reassure her. It's okay, Mom. Seeing this, Junsu also sighed. In the game, he even turned his back on his family. No wonder he became so cold and ruthless in the future. He smiled faintly. They are a bit pitiful. Then he spoke reassuringly. Don't worry. I will succeed at all costs. After a period of negotiation, only two people remained in the room. Junsu stretched excitedly. Now it's just the two of us here. Let's begin. Seo Ujin, on the other hand, trembled with fear. What should I do? Seeing his cowering appearance, he wondered, Why are you trembling? Calm down. He became even more scared and stammered. Aren't you going to torture me with injections or electric shocks to force me to awaken like others do? Seo Ujin's mind was filled with terrifying images of torture. Junsu was extremely confused and retorted, What kind of treatment is that? He quickly thought about what to do next. The common treatment for divine punishment is to drink nectar after awakening. But Junsu also realized, because Sei Ujin's body has accumulated too much magic power, the divine punishment becomes very strong, making awakening very difficult. He sat down, reassured him, and began to rummage through his tools. No need to worry, just remember one thing. Keep everything that happened today a secret. Hearing that, he immediately replied, I promise. After Junsu said, I'm starting now, the surrounding space gradually darkened. He also expanded his magic shield to its highest level, and just a moment later, the shield weakened. Divine punishment appeared, burning his body until his neck veins bulged. So hot. Junsu's hands quickly opened the two bottles of 200-degree magic power potion. Without any thought or hesitation, he poured both bottles of potion straight into his mouth, to Sei Ujin's amazement. After finishing them, Junsu threw the two empty bottles away, even though he was still being burned by divine punishment. Like an addict, he frantically and nimbly opened the potion bottle. Then Junsu tried to stuff the potion into his stomach, even though his eyes were bloodshot from this awful taste. In just a moment, the floor was littered with empty potion bottles, but new bottles kept being thrown in. Almost when Junsu drank until he wanted to vomit, the system announced, "Receive potion addiction, increase magic consumption, and damage received." He knew the opportunity had come. "I've got a new attribute. Now focus on the magic shield." Junsu activated the area shield, causing the magic shield to expand and cover the inside of the room. He gently wiped his lips and smiled happily at what he had accomplished. Junsu shot up excitedly. Divine punishment has been completely pushed outside the shield. Seiyujin, on the other hand, shouted in adoration, "Amazing!" He was praised, but remained modest. "It's a bit too early to celebrate now." He gave an order. "You have to take off the magic power sealing gloves." Hearing that, he was astonished. "What?" Junsu patiently repeated. "Then put your hand out of the shield area." He reached out his hand and confidently instructed, "Then take my hand." After hearing that, Seo Ujin's face was still pale as he wondered, "Then the two divine punishments will react, won't they?" As if not caring about that, Junsu led the way out of the barrier. The flame of divine punishment flared up again. He had become a torch of divine punishment, but remained calm. "You're inside the shield, so you'll be fine." The two, one inside and one outside, looked at each other. Junsu urged, "Don't ask anymore, just do as I say." Seo Ujin, on the other hand, couldn't maintain his composure. "This is the first time I've taken off my gloves." He hesitated, preparing to remove the glove that had sealed his magic power for many years. His bare hand slowly extended out of the shield. Thoughts also raced through Seo Ujin's mind. Since being baptized, the flame of divine punishment blazed fiercely. Clearly, the two divine punishments were combining, making Junsu a bit dizzy. He pursed his lips in terror. How much magic power does he actually have in his body? It's truly terrifying, but their hands clasped, causing their flames to merge. "I have to take his hand." An intense light appeared when the two divine punishments touched hands, blurring everything. Junsu felt an unprecedented pain. He couldn't bear it and could only scream miserably. "It hurts like hell." His eyes had started to turn white. His thoughts were also chaotic. "It hurts many times more than when I was baptized." Though the pain was bone deep, Junsu still pursed his lips and endured. "It felt like his bones were shattering into pieces, but I still have to focus and endure." At this moment, his mind was filled only with curses. What kind of deity damned divine punishment? Junsu's entire body was covered in the fire of divine punishment and sparkling golden light. Then suddenly, he dived into the shield from Seiyujin's position, making him exclaim in surprise. The two struggled and fell inside the magic circle and shield. Junsu panted incessantly like a fish out of water. He also didn't stop to rest but grabbed Seiyujin's arm. Junsu smiled happily as he had activated the damage absorption attribute, allowing him to take damage from other sources. The corners of his lips curved up. Success. Seo Ujin also cheered joyfully. "I took off my gloves, but I'm still fine." Junsu also replied joyfully, "That's right. That's why we had to go through that horrible thing." Explaining the situation a bit, Junsu had combined the use of the magic shield and damage absorption to help Seiyujin, meaning his divine punishment had weakened. After resting and regaining some strength, he grabbed the sword and said, "This is the final step." Junsu said with great confidence, "Don't stop, just hit me until you awaken." Seo Ujin also quickly grabbed the sword and made up his mind. "All right. It's time to use the sword technique I've practiced since I was little." He stood up in a ready stance for this one-on-one fight. A whooshing sound was heard. Seo Ujin quickly rushed forward, swinging his sword decisively. Junsu also quickly parried. But before he could regain his composure, the other had already circled behind him and attacked. Looking at the wrist guard that showed signs of wanting to retire, Junsu sighed. Did he break the iron armor on my arm with just a wooden sword? His eyes showed a bit of surprise mixed with fear at this potential. The system also announced, "You have just received the protection attribute." Immediately after were Seo Ujin's relentless attacks. He seemed to have become a different person, surprising Junsu. Even with this attribute, I'll still be seriously injured. Looking at Seo Ujin's approaching figure, he sighed a little. And these attacks are coming from someone who hasn't even awakened his power yet. The wooden sword whistled through the air as it rushed forward. A hand also quickly reached out, accompanied by Junsu's curious thoughts. What kind of sword technique did he learn when he was young? He quickly jumped into the air, twisted his body behind Seujin and sighed. Just dodging attacks is already this hard. Junsu landed on his knees, but still cautiously glanced at the sword-wielding figure in the distance. The system also announced, "Congratulations, you have received the penetration attribute," and Seujin's body was also emitting a huge surge of magic power. Junsu smiled slyly. Hey, he's about to awaken. Seo Ujin's entire body was fiercely emitting an extremely large surge of magic power. Junsu quickly noticed something different. What? Seo Ujin's cold expression as he raised his sword startled him. Both the sword and Seo Ujin were emitting the same color. This is clearly sword unity. Junsu's thoughts raced. Don't tell me it's sword unity, the state where the sword and body become one. His hand tightened on the wooden sword hilt. Magic power also circulated between the two. Junsu gritted his teeth in envy. That's an incredibly strong attribute of the warrior class, but this guy, Seo Ujin, swung a powerful sword strike that astonished him. He achieved that state. While Junsu was still stunned, the sword strike quickly rushed towards him. In an instant, he felt his whole body stiffen with fear. If I get hit, I'll die. Seeing Seo Ujin swing his sword, Junsu realized he's completely lost his senses. He was also a bit stunned watching the magnificent scene before him. In an instant, he felt his whole body stiffen with fear. If I get hit, I'll die. Junsu opened the equipment panel and decided, first I have to activate as many defensive attributes as possible. Blue light also appeared on his two arms. Then he focused the shield on his two hands. Golden light also emanated from the magic circle under Junsu's feet. With the help of the magic power-focusing circle in this room, Junsu had prepared two combined attributes to block the sword attack from Seo Ujin. The collision between the two streams of magic power emitted a dazzling light. The ground also shook until it shattered. The dense smoke also gradually dispersed, revealing a sea blue shield. A shield appeared in front of Junsu. Thanks to that, he received a magic shield and successfully blocked that deadly attack. He smirked smugly. I just fused the two attributes magic shield and protection to create a magic shield. Junsu bent down, stood up and sighed. Phew, sword unity, huh? Almost killed me. Seo Ujin let out a cry, making him look over in surprise. He must have regained his senses and was staggering, trying to stand up straight. Immediately after, he also leaned to one side and fell. Junsu stepped forward in amazement. How dare he faint so peacefully after almost killing me? Seeing that Seo Ujin was just tired, he snapped irritably. Oh my god, he's even sleeping. Junsu sat down, observed, and concluded, I guess after awakening he lost control. He also recalled the game's plot. In the game, Seo Ujin is an SSL class character, but because he awakened as a warrior and not a knight, his attribute is sword unity. Junsu thought up to this point, then rubbed his chin hesitantly. Perhaps I've created a monster warrior because I made him awaken as a warrior and not a knight. He slung the unconscious Seo Ujin over his shoulder and sighed. I don't know how this change will affect the future. Just a minute ago he was serious, but now Junsu's face became mischievous. He was born with a silver spoon and possesses terrifying power. Now he even owes me a favor. Not bad at all. Everyone gathered around Seo Ujin's bed. Lee Miri reconfirmed, our Ujin has truly escaped divine punishment. The chairman and his wife quickly bowed to express their gratitude. Thank you so much. Junsu smiled smugly. It's nothing, I told you I could do it. Choi Seong-gu beside him kindly served him water. I knew you could do it. A gentle hand stroked Seo Ujin's head as he slept on the bed. Lee Miri was overjoyed. It's been a long time since I've seen him sleep like this. I don't know how to repay you. It's been a long time since I've seen him sleep like this. The two quickly looked at each other and exchanged thoughts. Both husband and wife unanimously reached a decision. Seo Dong-du held a thick envelope and expressed, then along with the nectar and the mountain-splitting sword technique, memory chip, I will also pay you a handsome sum. Junsu smiled affably. Oh my, there's no need for that. Seo Dong-du was again quick. Please accept this 1 billion from us. Although it's nothing compared to what you've done for us. Hearing that Junsu was so pleased, he had to purse his lips to stop himself from laughing out loud. He still calmly shook his hand. Oh, my refusing twice isn't very good. I guess I have to accept it. It was late at night on the bustling road. An excited voice came from inside the car. Hit the jackpot today, warrior. Junsu, holding the nectar and chip, smiled and said, I know it looks amazing. Choi Seong-gu asked caringly, Are you planning to drink the nectar right away? He didn't hesitate and replied, Of course. I plan to go into seclusion to cultivate for a while. Hearing that he also agreed, I understand you don't want to attract the godfather's attention. He also remembered the group of saintesses and followers and sighed. And those guys heard about your reward. Choi Seong-gu turned the steering wheel and sighed. But it's a real pity. If you refine the nectar before drinking it, you'd gain more magic power. Junsu, holding the nectar bottle, also agreed with his opinion. He pursed his lips in thought. If I can refine the nectar and then drink it, I can gain more magic power instead of just using it to cure divine punishment. Above the magnificent sparkling hotel on the bustling road, Choi Seong-gu smiled and said, Warrior, let me see if I can find a nectar refining tool. Okay? Then think about drinking it later. Junsu stood at the car door smiling gratefully. Thank you, let me think about it more. When he returned to his room, Junsu excitedly uncorked the nectar container. He also quickly made a decision. I'll drink it now. Remembering what he had been through, he was sure of one thing. This mystical soul is very cruel. In the incident with that deer, I couldn't know if Director Choi would betray me or not. The attribute panel displayed potion addiction, magic power absorption, and poison resistance. Junsu poured the nectar straight into his mouth and thought, anyway, I have a few attributes to maximize the effect of the nectar. Just a second later, the nectar container fell to the ground and shattered completely. Junsu's entire body felt the familiar pain. It felt as if every muscle in his body was being torn apart. His temples were drenched in sweat. A large amount of magic power flowed through his body. The pain spread throughout his body, and his head also throbbed as if it would explode. Junsu's eyes also changed. His pupils had turned a strange golden color. Inside the room, a strong golden light burst forth, shining out through the window. Junsu excitedly looked at his palm. Leveled up. Now he's a level 2 gold warrior superhuman. Looking at the attribute panel again, he obtained dark fire, clenched his fist, and grinned foolishly. Nectar also cures divine punishment. I've received the highest level attribute in the entire game. Junsu's hand emitted a ring of dark energy. Now dark transformation has become my attribute. With the mountain-splitting sword, I'm at ease. I can focus on training with these two attributes. There won't be any problem. While he was rejoicing, his attention was drawn to the vibrating phone on the table. Looking at the sender, Junsu was surprised. Is it Director Choi? Why is he suddenly texting me? In just a moment, he decided to ignore it and run off. I'm gonna train, whatever. Although he tried to ignore it, the incessant ringing of the phone still irritated him. Junsu quickly walked over, grabbed the phone, and yelled, So noisy! What's the hurry? Lines of text carrying strange and messy information caught his eye. Junsu felt speechless. What kind of nonsense is this? Normally, he doesn't even text. It's unclear what he saw, but he suddenly paused. Wait, what's this? After discerning the pattern between the messages, Junsu understood the implication. Run from the sword gang. He stood silently in the middle of the room for a long time before speaking. He hid classified information in here. A little introduction about the sword gang. This is one of the gangs opposing the Iron Fist gang. Junsu tried hard to think. If Director Choi wanted to betray me, he would have gone to buy time already. Texting like this, he must have been caught. He quickly figured out the reason for this. It seems the information was leaked while he was preparing the tools. Junsu was silent, then gently pursed his lips as if pondering an important matter. Then he looked towards the city below and clicked his tongue. Whatever I already have, the nectar I need. Others have to take responsibility for their own lives. In a small alley full of garbage, the buildings were old and close together. A group of thugs was surrounding a tied-up person and criticizing two stubborn old men. One of them twisted Choi Seong-gu's head to the side and interrogated, "It's been all night, and you still won't say where that superhuman is." He was beaten black and blue but still kept his mouth shut. He signed the contract because he trusted me. I won't say it no matter what. A thug heard that, laughed perversely and threatened. I don't want to get angry, but it's your fault. Another one holding an iron axe slowly approached like a demon from hell. He was as cold as if discussing what to order, right or left. Which hand do you usually use to eat? He laughed fiercely, raised the axe high and hissed, not answering. Must be the right hand, huh? A shocking explosion interrupted the thug's brutal act and saved Choi Seong-gu from almost becoming a cripple. The thug wiped his eyes, looked towards the light, and shouted, "What?" He also looked on in astonishment. Several underlings lay scattered on the ground, groaning and calling for their boss. The leader was still dazed. What the hell is going on? The underlings struggled to recount the story. There are some crazy guys. Outside the building, hazy smoke was rising. A scope was observing the place. Junsu, carrying a sniper rifle, stood on the rooftop of the opposite building and laughed excitedly. Firing cannons at this building. He coldly uttered, "Sword gang, you've messed with the wrong person." Junsu chuckled happily and muttered, "How could I abandon someone who kept their promise in this cruel, mystical world of soul?" His finger gently rested on the trigger. Junsu gently uttered the final words, "All right then." With a loud shout, "Start the war, you bastards!" The bullet shot out with force. He coldly uttered, "Sword gang, huh? You've messed with the wrong person." Junsu chuckled happily and muttered, "How could I abandon someone who kept their promise in this cruel, mystical world of soul?" His finger gently rested on the trigger. Junsu gently uttered the final words, "All right then." With a loud shout, "Start the war, you bastards!" The bullet shot out with force. The bullet flew straight, causing the entire building to explode. Concrete exploded everywhere. The sword gang members attacked at their headquarters, grabbed their guns, and ran out. They looked around and clamored loudly, "Where did he shoot from? Hurry, find him!" Junsu lowered his gun and laughed happily. As expected, they swarmed out of the building like cockroaches. Although this building looks like ordinary apartments, I know they are all inside it, he declared with great confidence, because I've played this sword gang dungeon until I was sick of it. He quickly managed to simulate the structure of this building. This is a complex dungeon consisting of 6 separate buildings. Junsu recalled when he was still playing on a console, because the mission to deal with the sword gang is one of the tutorial missions. He could play it with his eyes closed. He slowly stood up from his hiding spot. Perhaps it's time to go on stage. Junsu swiftly glided across the rooftops of the buildings like a ninja. The general is here. The sword gang members over here still had no clue, searching chaotically like headless snakes. They searched and speculated. It must be the Iron Fist gang attacking us, right? Only they could cause such a big riot. Another one was annoyed. If we catch them, we have to beat them to a pulp immediately. A sound came from the trash can behind. He immediately turned around cautiously. "What's that noise? Let me go check." The other guys encouraged, "Yeah, remember to check carefully." The thug stepped into the small alley, looked inside, and was surprised. What's this? He was a bit confused. There's nothing here. Before he could finish speaking, an invisible hand reached out. Junsu grabbed the thug's head and slammed it hard onto the ground, making him scream in pain. Junsu was extremely smug. I'm right in front of him, and he can't see me. If you want to be invisible, there's no better combination than invisibility and playing dead. He cackled, feeling he was too smart. So while these idiots were wandering around, I've already entered the main building, easy as pie. Junsu found the entrance from on top of the trash can and quickly climbed down. Enter through which secret passage? He stepped into the deserted corridor, carefully looking around. So far, I've tried to avoid getting my hands dirty as much as possible. He quickly pressed himself against the wall before moving. The sword gang really likes to keep hostages next to the boss on the 5th floor, so I have to find a way up there. Junsu pursed his lips and slowly inched inside. I have to move very stealthily to avoid being caught. How careful was he that the sensors blared loudly? Emergency, emergency, under attack. Enemy has infiltrated the building. The warning siren wailed loudly. All units arm yourselves and gather at the ambush point. Junsu quietly gritted his teeth. I've been discovered. In front of him was a door. Junsu hesitated, not yet taking the next action. He muttered in annoyance. This is awkward. If I go out now, I'll reach the waiting hall. That's also the most optimal route because there's a central staircase leading up. Junsu worried about the feasibility of the plan. The problem is, once they discover an intruder in the building, they will set up barriers in the waiting hall for defense. He scratched his head dejectedly. If I open this door, I'll be riddled with bullets. That's what he said, but Junsu still smiled amicably and opened the door with a click. The sword gang members focused on guarding were startled and turned to look. The 6-barreled machine gun was also raised, pointing towards the opposite side of the just-opened door. Junsu began to open fire. His excited voice greeted, "Hello, very happy to meet you guys. Take this gift." Yes. The sword gang members were startled and wanted to retreat. Because of the Gatling gun, huh? Before they could recover from the shock, Junsu had already fired rapidly into this deserted corridor. Seeing their comrades fall, they regained their composure and counterattacked. You dog, fire back. A grenade flew in a beautiful arc, landing towards the sword gang members who were still standing dazed. A loud explosion erupted, accompanied by the screams of those who couldn't escape in time. Junsu hid behind the door, smiling and showing his pearly white teeth. I don't like to be rough, but 3 more grenades appeared in his hand, accompanied by a teasing voice. One isn't enough. It turned out not just 3, but a whole bunch of grenades thrown by Junsu were starting to fall like ripe figs. Many more. He hid behind the door, enjoying the explosions behind him. I'm glad you guys like it. Inside the corridor, smoke was billowing. The aftershock of the explosion still lingered in the air. Junsu looked at the sword gang members lying scattered on the ground. Clearly, they had lost their fighting strength. He walked over, looked around, and thought to himself, is that all? While Junsu was glancing back thinking, there must still be a few guys alive. I can't let my guard down. A thug struggled to raise his gun, wanting to attack. A bullet whistled through the air, flying quickly towards Junsu's head while he was still dazed. He nimbly dodged this danger. At the same time, he also gained a new attribute, sensitivity. He thought to himself, good, I have the sensitivity attribute now. Then he cast a sharp glance towards the thug. All right, Junsu roared in anger. You're the one who should die, followed by countless gunshots. After venting his anger, he gently stroked his forehead with satisfaction. Done with these lackeys. Now let's go upstairs. His footsteps slowly ascended the stairs. The sound of footsteps echoed in the silent space. Junsu walked while looking around, assessing. I don't remember if there's anything on the 4th floor, but he turned and continued walking. The real danger starts now. There might still be someone waiting on the 4th floor gambling room right below the 5th floor and the boss's room. Junsu quietly hid himself at the top of the stairs and carefully observed the situation. His eyes caught something extremely shocking. The vast empty corridor surprised him. "Aren't they here?" Junsu walked over and opened the door to the gambling room. There was no one in the gambling room either. He was surprised, seeming to realize something was wrong. Something's not right. Junsu reminded himself to focus his thoughts. Thanks to that, he gained another attribute, concentration. Finally, he also realized something was above him. Wait a minute, I hear something above. A flycam appeared from the air vent, confusing him. An autonomous drone. A mine dropped from the drone, giving Junsu no time to react. That bomb activated, emitting a blinding light that temporarily blinded people. Junsu got hit and immediately squinted, cursing, "Damn it, a stun grenade!" A figure quickly slid behind him as if prepared beforehand. That person holding a knife leaped forward, wanting to finish Junsu with one strike. This knife successfully plunged into his neck. A man with a twisted expression laughed wildly. "Got you, you little rat." It turned out he was the leader of the Sword Gang, a level 2 assassin superhuman. Junsu timely used his magic shield, turned his head, and coldly asked, "Who did you say you caught?" The leader was astonished. "The knife. How could it not penetrate?" Sensing danger, he quickly retreated, wanting to increase the distance from him. Junsu looked at the leader's clothes and sneered, "Aren't you the one dressed like those things? Who did you just call a rat?" Junsu silently sighed in relief. "I didn't think the leader would appear on the 4th floor. It's really dangerous. It wasn't like this in the game. Luckily, I still anticipated it." Another stun bomb was dropped. Junsu got hit again for the second time. He closed his eyes in annoyance. In his mind, he quickly analyzed the situation. When a player enters the boss room, stun grenades will be automatically activated. I have to equip the sensitivity and concentration attributes before being ambushed by the boss. Junsu also considered the most advantageous option. The boss of the Sword Gang is an assassin. I have to use all 5 senses to detect his attack direction. The leader shouted in annoyance, "Damn it, you ruined my ambush!" Junsu reached behind him for a weapon and calmly replied, "What's so surprising?" He drew a long, sharp sword to fight this time. Junsu declared confidently, "I'll make you regret messing with me." Kim Junsu smiled and said, "Don't be so surprised, okay?" The assassin angrily said, "Damn it, you ruined my ambush formation." He drew the sword from behind his back and pointed it straight at him. He said angrily, "I'll make you regret messing with me." Saying that, he quickly rushed towards the assassin. He swept his sword horizontally, but the assassin nimbly dodged and appeared behind him, teasingly said, "Slow as a turtle, yet you think you're so cool." He was surprised and paid attention behind him. Saying that, he threw a knife at him. The cold knife just flew towards him as if wanting to take his life. He quickly used his sword to flick the knife away. He gritted his teeth and thought to himself, "Indeed, an assassin is different. So fast, I survived thanks to the sensitivity and concentration attributes." Looking at the knife on the ground, he thought, "That guy's dagger is imbued with dark magic. If I get hit, I'll be done for. The longer I fight, the more disadvantaged I become." The assassin was surprised to see him block his knife. "Oh, lucky, huh? If you surrender now, I'll show mercy and just cut off one arm." Hearing that, he provoked him, "Shut up, if you're good, come at me." He laughed wildly. "A type like you probably only knows how to hold a gun. With such a terrible way of holding a sword, you truly don't know the immensity of heaven and earth, only good at trash talking, huh?" He pondered silently. Holding a gun. That's right. It's because I only use firepower that he mistook me for a special forces soldier. Then he quickly lunged forward. "I'll chop you into 100 pieces and make you meet your ancestors in the most painful way." Seeing him approach, he raised his sword, thinking, "I only have one chance." He then brought his sword down to strike him. And that's now while he's still letting his guard down. But when he struck, the other quickly reacted and dodged. He sneered, "Too slow." He looked at him coldly. Then he turned his sword around, controlling the sword to slash horizontally at him. He was surprised to see him react so quickly. Looking at the sword about to sweep across him, he gritted his teeth and thought, what the hell a marksman knows, coordinated attacks. He then used his knife to block his sword path and fell to the ground. He looked at him coldly, then said arrogantly, sorry, but once I've changed my attributes, I'm no longer a marksman. Kim Junsu wildly raised his sword, saying, but a swordsman. He used the mountain-splitting sword technique Unity. He brought the sword down on his arm, causing blood to splatter. Mountain split. He screamed in pain, foaming at the mouth. He sneered, seeing that the one who was so cocky earlier was now getting beaten. He said haughtily, dare to look down on me. He was angry. You bastard. Then he picked up his knife to counterattack. He quickly rushed towards him, shouting, it's not over yet. He said fearfully at this moment, is he planning to risk it all blindly? And then blood splattered on the window frame. It was the assassin's. He lay flat on the ground in agony. His knife was stuck in his hip. He collapsed in pain. No, damn it, in the end I was the careless one. He quickly pulled out the knife, saying, the poison has entered my body. I have to change my attributes. He then opened the system panel, using the rapid wound recovery attribute to quickly heal himself. After using it, he felt better. He then stood up, saying, I can endure it, but it hurts so much. Suddenly, outside the window, it was heard, hurry up here, the intruder is around here. He said worriedly, can't waste any more time. I have to get out of here as quickly as possible. On the 5th floor of the Sword Gang, the torture room, Director Choi was tied up sitting on a chair in the middle of the room. Suddenly, his chair was kicked over. He tried to reach for a piece of glass, thinking to himself, I have to get out of here quickly. A foot approached him. He removed the gag from his mouth, saying, why did you let yourself get caught? He said joyfully, superhuman. He smiled and said, you must be very stubborn, right? Then he quickly untied the ropes. He was moved to tears and said, you came all this way to save me. He said urgently, let's get out first, they're here. He hurriedly replied, yes, of course, of course. But perhaps, because of the torture, his legs made it difficult to walk. Seeing that, he thought angrily, what did those bastards do? He then knelt down, saying, get on. He waved his hand, saying, what? No need. How could I ask for such a thing? He replied, it's all right. It's urgent. We need to get to a safe place first. Director Choi awkwardly scratched his head and said, then just this once. Thank you. Then he climbed onto his back. He said apologetically, oh dear, I'm truly sorry. He thought to himself, being tortured so brutally, yet he didn't betray me. He smiled inwardly. Mystical soul. In a hellish place like this, I still feel a bit moved. Then both of them returned to Director Choi's office. He slammed the can of water on the table, then leaned back in his chair. The system panel displayed, poison resistance. You have just received an attribute. He said comfortably, after drinking the antidote, I feel much better. Director Choi hurriedly hugged a few more cans of antidote and said, if you need more, there's still some here. He replied, it's all right, that's enough. He smiled slyly, inwardly, because I have attributes. His face suddenly turned glum. He blamed himself, saying, anyway, no matter how many times I apologize, it's not enough. It seems while I was preparing the nectar, the information was leaked. He comforted him, saying, it's all right, I've already drunk the nectar anyway. He hurriedly shouted, what, you drank the nectar already? He said embarrassedly, otherwise you wouldn't have been saved, Director. He then hugged his head. He exclaimed in panic, impossible. You had to sacrifice that precious thing to save me. He thought to himself, not entirely, but let him think that way. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door from outside. Director Choi shouted worriedly, what, the Sword Gang is here. His body trembled with fear as he said, what should we do? He crossed his arms, calmly, said, it seems we have guests. Let's go greet them. Saying that, he went with him to open the door. Outside, a group of people was standing. He asked, Iron Fist Gang, a man wore a bandolier of bullets. This is the leader of the Iron Fist Gang, Kim Iron Fist. He said cheerfully, "You're here." He said, "You actually single-handedly wiped out the sword gang, truly not an ordinary person. So why did you call me here?" He was silent, not saying a word. He thought to himself, because now it's my turn to receive the reward for completing a difficult mission. The Iron Fist Gang and the Sword Gang are two opposing gangs vying for control of the area. In the game, the main tutorial mission is to help the Iron Fist Gang eliminate the Sword Gang. He then smiled broadly inwardly. The Iron Fist Gang will reward handsomely whoever eliminates the Sword Gang. Kim Iron Fist spoke up. "Are you planning to start a new organization or something?" He cleared his throat and said, "I'm not that type. The reason I called you here is," he continued seriously, "to tell you that I can help you take over the area currently held by the Sword Gang." He was surprised. "What?" He quickly explained, "I prefer to go solo and join the underworld. So this is to repay the favor from last time." He said thoughtfully, "Indeed a lucrative offer, but it's a bit much compared to the debt you owed me last time. Isn't it?" He smiled and said, "It seems we think alike." He then seized the opportunity saying, "If you get that area, grant me one wish, okay?" He asked in surprise. "A wish? What do you want? Let's hear it." He thought to himself, "Of course. That's what everyone in Seoul wishes for." Then he revealed a bizarre expression, laughing so hard he couldn't close his mouth. "Just give me a house, that's enough." He was joyful inwardly. "It's time to buy a house." Kim Iron Fist said, "A wish. What do you want? Let's hear it." He thought to himself, "Of course. That's what everyone in Seoul wishes for." Then he revealed a bizarre expression, laughing so hard he couldn't close his mouth. "Just give me a house, that's enough." He was joyful inwardly. "It's time to buy a house." He frowned and said, "You said a house?" He sighed and said, "Because I work alone in this harsh world, I still need a proper base, right?" He started to feign pain with Director Choi. "When I fought the Sword Gang, my stomach was injured." Director Choi was alarmed, still hurting. Seeing this, Kim Iron Fist fell silent. Then he cleared his throat and said, "All right then. Anyway, you managed to take down the Sword Gang. Let's seal the deal like that." He replied cheerfully, "I like the way you work." Outwardly calm, but inwardly he was blooming with joy. "Oh yeah?" He asked, "What kind of house do you like, a luxury villa or an apartment?" He said, "Neither. I like a detached house with good security and soundproofing, also with training facilities in the basement." He crossed his arms in thought. A detached house with a training area in the basement. He was inwardly impatient. "Say it." His face began to contort. "Huh. Say the type of house you want." Then Kim Iron Fist spoke up. "I know a place like that." He said, "It's a house located in the outskirts of Selim, near the peak of Mount Gayon." Him. At this moment, he was ecstatic and thrilled internally because he had acquired a house. Outwardly, he tried to remain calm and said, "Oh, Selim, really?" He thought to himself, "A house located in the outskirts of Selim, near the peak of Gyeongdong Mountain. That will be my first base in this mystical soul." At this moment, he was lying down, sunbathing, thoroughly enjoying himself on a soft chair at his suburban house. He joyfully said, "So this is what it feels like to have a home, huh?" He went out to the balcony, enjoying the cool autumn breeze. The air is so pleasant and the view is top-notch too. Looking around the house with its large, imposing gate, he said happily, "It's truly a magnificent house." He recalled the time he was in a cramped house after returning from the hospital. "When I first entered this mystical soul, I was lost and didn't know what to do. The hospital bill was 20 million won. Right now, he was happy with this place, but now he owned a house like a palace. He began to happily think about the future. Not only that, but he also had Director Choi's money with top-tier security. Now, even if I were hospitalized for a year, I wouldn't have to worry anymore." But then he reconsidered. "But this is mystical soul, so I can't rest on my laurels." He remembered the Saintess's group. Once the game's plot progressed, a few villains would appear and destroy this city. He immediately picked up the iron pickaxe, slung it over his shoulder and said sternly, "All right, It's time to find the real reason for choosing this house. He went to the training area in the basement and started knocking on the wall. He seemed to be searching for something, knocking for a while. It must be around here. Then he raised the pickaxe. Time to get to work. He struck the wall hard with the pickaxe, causing it to crack. Then it crumbled down, creating a large hole that astonished him. He laughed delightedly, saying, "My attributes are so powerful, it looks like this will be done faster than I thought." At this moment, he was diligently digging with the pickaxe. After a while, he was worn out. His whole body had no strength left. Faster than a monkey. Why didn't I know this when I was playing? Is it always this deep? Then he regained his spirits. But I can't give up here. He raised the pickaxe. Then he struck down hard on the ground. I'm almost at the destination. A stream of water gushed up. He shouted with joy, "Success!" He started opening his mouth to drink that cool stream of water. His entire body was enveloped by a blue aura. After drinking, he said happily, "I love this taste." Looking at his transforming body, he said, "I can feel my body recovering." So this is the effect of the magic spring, huh? A magic spring of magical power. The water in the lake was clear blue, and the entire surface sparkled. Exhausted, he soaked himself in the spring. Even with no HP left soaking in, the magic spring could quickly restore him. All his wounds disappeared, proving how effective it was. Afterwards, he was full of vigor and vitality. The place where one could enjoy the magic spring for free was none other than the Gyeongdong House, the first base given by the Iron Fist clan. Then he installed a faucet at the magic spring and started filling the bathtub he had set up. He sighed. It was so hard to get here, unlike in the game where a double click is all it takes. He then soaked himself in the bathtub and said comfortably, "My vitality is overflowing again." Then he held a sword in his hand. Standing in the bathtub, he looked at the sword and said, "A magic spring with such amazing recovery effects is truly suitable for training." He drew his sword and said happily, "And as soon as I'm exhausted, I can recover immediately and get back to training." He laughed maniacally, slashed downwards with his sword. Now it's time for the game's harsh training. Night fell. By now, he had left the magic spring bathtub. Standing in the middle of the basement, he thought to himself, "I've locked myself in here to train for 2 weeks." His whole body exuded a black aura. He coldly pointed his sword forward, thinking, "I can activate black flame now in this state." A blue light appeared on the sword, then it burst into fierce flames around the blade. He raised his sword high, then slashed downwards. This is the mountain-splitting sword technique, first move crushing mountain. He swept his sword horizontally. Mountain-splitting sword technique, second move, splitting mountain. Then he powerfully thrust it forward. Mountain-splitting sword technique, third move, piercing mountain. He looked at the sword happily. Good. I've now mastered the mountain-splitting sword technique in black flame. He opened the system screen. The attributes appeared. He said, "Not to mention the attributes gained during training." Then Kim Junsu began to ponder. "Now I've completed my training goal, there's only one important step left. A method to cultivate magic power, something I haven't obtained during training." He recalled drinking nectar earlier and thought to himself, if I had refined the honey before drinking it, I might have become a level 3 superhuman by now. He looked at his whole body regretfully, thinking, but now I've only reached level 2, so there's still some magic power left in my body. He began to deliberate. To completely absorb the nectar's magic power and reach level 3, I need that method. Remembering it, he grimaced. Of course, it's not easy at all when its price is up to 10 billion. He recalled when he was playing the game in real life. At Kim Chun-bak's store owner, Kim Chun-bak was surprised. "What, you really want to buy it?" He said, "That thing has been in storage for a decade now." He replied, "Please sell it to me." On the phone screen, the system panel appeared. "You have successfully purchased the magic power cultivation method." He said happily, "I'm surely the only one who knows its hiding place in an antique shop." Back in the game, he said excitedly, Now let's go to Xinhuan Market where that antique shop is. He hurried off, his face constantly beaming. I'm about to level up. A moment later, he arrived at Kim Chunbok's store, but the door was tightly shut. What the heck? Looking at the chain lock on the door, he wondered, closed? Touching the blue glow on the door, he was terrified. It's even sealed with magic power so no one can enter. He looked at the paper pasted on the door. Closed until Xinhuan Market stabilizes. Surprised, he said, Xinhuan Market has the most shops in this area. There's nothing they don't sell here. He thought anxiously. In the game, this place was always open regardless of the time. Why is it closed now? He looked around the place. Moreover, he remembered it used to be bustling with buyers, but now it was closed with no one around. He exclaimed, the neighboring shops are closed too. He started to worry. This mystical soul, is it different from what I know? At night, on the desolate outskirts of the street, the mayor was squatting near a store, silently smoking a cigarette. Suddenly, Kim Junsu approached and asked, Mayor, things haven't been going too well lately, huh? Seeing someone approach, the mayor immediately turned his head to see who it was. Seeing it was Kim Junsu, he turned his head back to look straight ahead. He frowned, exhaled a puff of smoke, and said irritably, Can't you tell by looking? I'm about to die here. Those thugs fight all day and night. What ghost would dare to come around? Kim Junsu stood with hands on his hips, listened, and then slightly surprised asked back, Thugs, I thought this place was the Iron Fist clan's territory. After hearing this, the mayor's attitude became even harsher. He waved his hand angrily and cursed, Ha, Iron Fist clan my ass. Ever since the Short Sword clan disappeared, all sorts of gangs started fighting each other day and night. The Iron Fist clan, the Poison clan, and even the Red clan. Kim Junsu frowned to one side, listening, then thoughtfully asked, They're fighting each other. At the same time, the answer became clear in his mind. He thought, so that's how it is. Thinking about how Iron Fist Kim could defeat opponents in an instant, Kim Junsu recalled the original story. The Iron Fist clan themselves defeated the Short Sword clan and claimed ownership of the territories. The next scene showed Iron Fist Kim and a group of men in suits standing arrogantly smirking. He then thought further. Xinhuan Market naturally fell under their control from then on. Then came an image of the three clans gathered in one place. Kim Junsu silently concluded, but this time, I was the one who destroyed the Short Sword clan, so that's why this market became a battlefield for all sorts of gangs. Thinking it over, the one who messed everything up was me by intervening. Kim Junsu frowned. He raised his hand to rub his lips thoughtfully, trying to find a solution, wondering, what to do. While deep in thought, suddenly a shout echoed from behind the building across, Look at those idiots over there. Kill them. Hearing the sound, Kim Junsu immediately turned his head and looked up. But the mayor sitting opposite seemed all too familiar with this and just said wearily, Ch again. Kim Junsu glanced coldly towards the building and said, First, let's go check out those thugs. At the same time, on the market street across, a guy in a white suit was pushed down by someone opposite, crashing hard onto a floor of cardboard boxes covered with red cloth behind, sending plastic trash flying everywhere. He looked at the man clutching his chest and kneeling, and three other men also in suits standing stunned in front. The other person stomped his foot and arrogantly asked, Don't you remember, I told you this intersection is the Poison clan's territory, didn't I? Then her face was revealed. Kang Shim, the vice leader of the Poison clan, raised her middle finger, stuck out her snake-like tongue, and viciously cursed, Damn Iron Fist clan, go back to your damn holes. The gang members following behind also jeered provocatively. The guy in the suit, who had just been punched until he coughed up blood, heard this, gritted his teeth, and angrily cursed, You bastards! The atmosphere was tense. Suddenly, a gloomy voice came asking, Ahem, what are you brats doing in our territory? As the voice sounded, everyone turned to look. They saw a group of grotesque men in underwear and slippers swaggering over. The leader at the front wore a white tank top and a red shawl. Seeing the newcomers, Kang Shim's face turned deathly pale. She retracted her tongue and fearfully yelled, "Damn it, these perverts are here again." The exhibitionist ignored her attitude, raised his hand and with a wicked smile said, "This intersection belongs to our Red Clan." Kang Shim found it ridiculous, stepped forward, stuck out her snake tongue and yelled, "Stop talking nonsense and get lost." The exhibitionist remained still, smirked and asked her, still determined to confront us. Seeing both sides preparing to fight, the guy in the suit, who had been beaten badly, frowned and thought, "Crazy bastards. I have to get out of here." Thinking that, he gradually moved backward but suddenly bumped into someone's trouser leg. And the person who had just appeared was Kim Junsu. Seeing someone next to him, the guy in the suit reflexively looked up in bewilderment. Kim Junsu calmly looked at the arguing crowd in front and asked, "What's going on here?" The guy in the suit, still astonished, didn't answer but stammered, "Huh, you're the one who destroyed the Short Sword Clan." Kim Junsu nonchalantly pulled the person next to him up by the arm, glanced sideways and said, "What else? Stand up and get to work." The guy in the suit, still not understanding anything, confusedly asked back, What are you doing?" Before the guy next to him could continue, Kim Junsu immediately raised his hand and loudly commanded, "Hey, you damn thugs, gather around here." Seeing the other two simultaneously turn to look, the guy in the suit, flustered, opened his mouth wide and eagerly asked, "Hey, what are you doing?" Kim Junsu calmly glanced over and said slowly, "I'm helping you." At the same time, he silently calculated in his mind, "For the market to operate normally again, I need to reestablish the hierarchy. I think it's best to help the Iron Fist clan." Seeing someone bold enough to give her orders, Kang Shim opposite stuck out her tongue, smirked, and said, "Oh, let's see what we have here. How dare you order us around?" While Kang Shim was frowning and speaking, Junsu also took the opportunity to observe his opponent's strength and immediately thought, "Both of these guys are level 2 superhumans." And the exhibitionist beside Kang Shim, with his hands clasped on his chest and a dark expression, asked, "Ahem? Do you mean you have a proposal to make?" Ignoring the two bickering, Kim Junsu was still deep in thought. "If I go all out, I can win, but..." Pausing for a beat, Kim Junsu looked at the worried merchant standing to one side. He hesitated, thinking, then it will cause unnecessary damage to the merchants. In that case, Kim Junsu grinned, opened his equipment panel, took out the mountain sword technique, and activated Divine Fever, arrogantly thinking, "Let them witness my power first." Just as he expected, when the two saw him open his equipment, their jaws dropped in utter shock. Kang Shim froze and asked, "What the hell? Mountain-splitting sword technique and Divine Fever. How is that possible?" The exhibitionist was no less astonished, sweating, as he asked, "Are you the one who single-handedly defeated the Short Sword Clan?" Kim Junsu didn't deny it, frankly admitted and suggested in a low voice, "That's right. This time I'll be a bit more generous. I'll make an offer you can't refuse. Let's have a one-on-one match. Don't complicate things. The winner takes control of this market. What do you think, fair, right?" Kang Shim didn't think it was that simple. She frowned and retorted, "Do you think we're stupid enough to fight?" The exhibitionist also agreed, his expression serious. But Kim Junsu, hearing this, said, "Don't worry." He raised an eyebrow, grinned widely, and coolly said, "We'll fight in the field you're most confident in." After a while, the three of them stood in the center while the gang members surrounded them to watch. After discussing who would fight first, Kim Junsu approached his opponent and asked, "So your specialty is mind control, right? If I can resist it, it means I win." The exhibitionist standing opposite blushed as the handsome guy Soai Ka approached him. He shyly covered his mouth, glanced sideways, and chuckled, "Heh heh 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 heh. It's such an honor for a handsome man like you to know us." Kang Shim, standing to one side, saw the exhibitionist's expression and her face turned deathly pale. The exhibitionist was hopelessly infatuated. He sidled up to Kim Junsu, rubbing his palms, and cooed in a cute voice, or how about we just put this pointless fight aside? You can directly participate in our goddess ritual, that'll be fine. Kim Junsu couldn't stand it anymore, turned his face away in disgust and asked back, "That's too disgusting. Why should I listen?" Then he put his hands on his hips, looked up disdainfully, and said, "Use your brain a little. Your religion isn't even one of the top 7. It's just some unknown thing." The exhibitionist hadn't replied yet when he heard him continue with a pout. "Why should I join a fake religion that's not even listed in the Treaty of Westphalia?" Instantly veins bulged on his face. The exhibitionist's whole body trembled with anger. He gave a contorted smile, raised a creepy eyebrow, and said, as expected, "I will fill your mind with love and respect for the goddess." As soon as he finished speaking, the exhibitionist immediately raised an arm, pointed it at Kim Junsu, used magic to create a blue orb, and commanded, "Kneel, and I will give you the chance to meet the goddess." Magical power emanated from the blue orb coiling around Kim Junsu, making him frown in resistance while thinking, this mind control attribute is really strong. The increasingly dense magical power slowly swept across his face. Kim Junsu's mind gradually couldn't resist anymore. He thought to himself, "I want to kneel right now, but..." Before he finished the thought, his legs reacted first, slightly bending his knees into a ready stance. Kim Junsu then swung his fist from below, punching straight into the exhibitionist's face. It made him unable to react in time. His whole body fell backward, his eyes wide, and 2 streams of nosebleed gushed out continuously. The exhibitionist lay sprawled on the ground, let out a groan, and fainted. Kim Junsu still paused in his previous motion, his fist still raised, thinking, sorry, but the system panel behind showed divine resistance mode. Kim Junsu bared his pearly white teeth in a wide grin, his smoking fist held arrogantly, thinking, even divine intervention can't do anything to me. At this moment, the whole group, seeing their Red Clan's vice leader defeated, rushed over, carried the exhibitionist away while anxiously asking, "Exhibitionist, are you okay?" The exhibitionist, having lost consciousness, only responded with 2 hey-heys. Seeing things weren't right, that guy shouted, "Let's retreat," while Kim Junsu stood gloating behind them, sticking his tongue out. Waiting until the Red Clan members had disappeared, Kim Junsu turned to Kang Shim and said, "Your turn." Even after witnessing such a dramatic fight, Kang Shim wasn't scared, but rather found it more interesting. She casually put one hand in her pocket and asked, "Oh, you're not too bad, huh?" Just after asking before he could reply, Kang Shim wrinkled her nose, stuck out her snake tongue, and said, "But listen to me. The Poison Clan is on a completely different level than those perverts." Kim Junsu, not to be outdone, looked straight ahead and said decisively, "I don't care. Let's just fight. Your specialty is poison, right? Show me your strongest poison. I'll drink it." Kang Shim, seeing his audacity to drink poison, became even more confident and said, "All right. If you want to die that badly, then I'll indulge you." Unlike Kim Junsu's indifferent attitude, the guy in the suit from the Iron Fist clan ran over, pulled his arm, and tried to stop him, saying, I know you're strong, but drinking poison is tantamount to suicide." Kim Junsu treated it as a trivial matter, smiled, and said, "It's okay. I'm confident." Just as the two on the other side finished speaking, Kang Shim handed the cup of poison to Kim Junsu. She laughed maliciously and said, "Drink it. You win if you can withstand it. If not, I win." Kim Junsu took it. Looking at the full cup of poison in his hand, he silently assessed, "As expected, she gave me this type of poison. This is the kind that causes the most pain." Smelling the disgusting odor from the cup of poison in his hand, Kim Junsu frowned angrily and complained, "Good heavens, this smell is so awful. Prepare to get punched if I don't die from this." Kang Shim gloated again, raised her iron middle finger, and said with amusement, "After you drink it, don't beg for an antidote." Kim Junsu didn't hesitate, said, "That won't happen," then tilted his head back and drank the entire cup of poison. As soon as the poison was swallowed, it immediately took effect. Kim Junsu's entire face gradually became covered by toxins. He painfully closed one eye and let out a groan. Immediately after he collapsed to the ground, the half-drunk cup of poison also fell and rolled nearby. The toxins quickly spread across both sides of his face. Kim Junsu tried to open one eye which had turned bloodshot. Both hands pressed to the ground, he gritted his teeth to endure the pain, silently cursing, "Damn it!" His whole body felt like it was boiling. Then Kang Shim, standing opposite, looked at Kim Junsu, who was sitting and trembling violently. She stepped forward, placed one foot on his knee, and arrogantly said, "You can feel it now, right? If you repent while begging me, I'll consider sparing your life." Kim Junsu, sitting on the ground, had no time to listen to Kang Shim's nonsense. He focused all his mental energy just to silently remind himself to concentrate. The equipment attribute panel appeared. After activating poison resistance mode, perseverance, vitality, meditation focus, and black flame, he thought again. Their poison is made by mixing special drugs, so just using poison resistance isn't enough. 6 poison resistance modes were activated simultaneously. Along with his enduring stamina, Kim Junsu gritted his teeth and let out a groan. Gradually, the toxins on his face moved down into his neck. He still thought to himself, "I have to endure this with my healing attribute and control the toxicity." Thinking this, Kim Junsu gritted his teeth, his eyes blazing, sweat pouring, trying to concentrate all the toxins into his right hand. As for Kang Shim, seeing he could control the poison, she jumped in astonishment and asked, "Is he concentrating magic power in his hand?" Back to Kim Junsu. By now, the toxins had been concentrated by magic power into a lump in the palm of his hand. The small system panel immediately displayed the attribute, drug resistance. "You have just received an attribute." Seeing his success, Kim Junsu thought, "Done. Thanks to drug resistance, I can use magic power to control the poison now." Although the lump of poison had been concentrated in one corner, its effects were still active. Kim Junsu frowned, staring at the lump of poison in his right hand, then took the sword, with his left hand gritted his teeth and said, "Finally." He didn't hesitate to slash across the palm of his right hand. The poison immediately gushed out. Kim Junsu painfully bowed his head tightly, closed his eyes, enduring it, waiting for all the toxins to flow out. The Iron Fist clan brother, watching from the side, looked at his bleeding palm in terror and asked, "Huh?" He concentrated the poison in his hand and then removed it. Kang Shim also couldn't believe it. She grimaced, her face horrified, and yelled loudly, "Impossible!" Suddenly Kang Shim started, her eyes wide, staring straight ahead. Kim Junsu didn't know when he had recovered. He grabbed Kwang Tom's hand and raised his eyebrows, saying, "Phew, that poison was nasty. Now it's my turn." Kang Shim couldn't react in time, only fearfully wondering, "Since when?" Not letting Kang Shim pull her hand back, Kim Junsu, quick as lightning, grabbed her middle finger and yanked it hard. Kang Shim was in agony, her face contorted with bulging blue veins. She tilted her head back and screamed, "Ah!" Then her body couldn't take it anymore, and she collapsed to the ground. She gritted her teeth, clutching her hand, groaning. Seeing Kang Shim's finger slam to the ground, the guys behind her, terrified, called out in unison, "Vice leader!" Kang Shim's whole body trembled like a leaf. She looked up, glaring at Kim Junsu, and threatened, "You think you can do this to me and get away with it?" Kim Junsu didn't care. He picked his ear, tilted his head to look elsewhere, and said, "Stop talking nonsense. Hurry up and get out of my sight." Kang Shim, hearing what he just said, was furious and about to get up to fight back, but was held down by the shoulder by the people behind her. She could only curse, "Bastard." The gang members quickly urged, "Let's go, vice leader." So the entire poison clan followed each other and left. Kang Shim, still unwilling, cursed, "Damn it! Remember my face." Watching the crowd hastily grab their sandals and run, the guy in the suit said in a daze, "We won." The four guys from the Iron Fist clan were overjoyed, smiling and shouting loudly, "Ha ha ha! Those bastards deserved it! Hooray for Warrior Kim!" Kim Junsu, seeing them so happy, also smiled faintly. Then he glanced to the other side, thinking victory was certain. Now for the most important thing. The worried merchants were standing to one side. The scarred man turned and asked, "The Iron Fist clan won?" The woman behind, arms crossed, replied, "I don't know how they'll torment us." The old man in the distance also sighed wearily. Seeing their anxious mood, Kim Junsu turned to the Iron Fist clan member and asked, "You witnessed everything, right?" The guy in the suit, beaming like a flower, rushed over and said hurriedly, "Of course, thank you so much." Then Kim Junsu raised a finger, pouted his lips, and said, "There's one more thing the Iron Fist clan needs to remember in this market." The other guy immediately nodded obediently and asked, "Yes, what is it? Go ahead and tell me." Kim Junsu didn't hesitate to state the condition. The protection fee for this market is only half of what the Short Sword clan charged. The guy in the suit, whose heart was blooming, immediately jumped, sweat pouring like rain, wanting to refuse. "What? Then we won't have any income." Speaking softly didn't work. Kim Junsu brought his murderous face, close eyes wide, and asked again, "Want to go back on your word?" The other guy, scared, turned his face away and quickly replied, "No, of course not. I don't think the boss will accept it." The merchants behind, hearing their negotiation, everyone's face lit up. The scarred man happily asked, "Wow, half the protection fee." The old man standing behind cupped his fist and said, "He is the benefactor of Shinwan Market." Meanwhile, Kim Junsu, standing with his back to them, perked up his ears, heard the merchants thanking him, and gave a wicked smile, thinking, "This is the reason I had to suffer so much, ahaha." The group of merchants bustled over, repeatedly laughing and saying, "Thank you, thank you." Kim Junsu smiled friendly and replied, "I just did what I had to do. From now on, just give me a discount, hey hey." But they didn't know that behind that kind face, deep down, Kim Junsu had a wicked smile, smirking and chuckling smugly, thinking, "Shinwan Market has everything and more." Looking at the beaming, welcoming faces of the four people in front of him, accompanied by the words, "Of course, we'll give you an 80% discount," Kim Junsu grinned widely, thinking, "It even increases the merchant's affection for me."